So I spoke to Spiros at about 7 minutes past 7. So he was just had to drive to go up the top of a hill. Apparently he's got bad reception where he is, so he will be on the on his mobile phone. So that's the zinc for the meeting. If there's anybody you want to get here, I'd really like people to be able to ask questions, anything that you're wanting to know, particularly with Spiros there. I want to give him as much benefit as possible, benefit of the doubt. That's to make sure that I'm not just being biased in the information that I've got in front of me and what I've got concerns about. We've got to see also if Spiros is working some sort of a slightly different agenda but going the same direction that we are, that sort of thing, because we need as many people with us as possible. And as we discussed the other night, Spiros has the ability to be quite a showman. So there'll be people that will listen to him because of his personality. He'll get their attention, that sort of thing. So it won't hurt. And if he's working somewhat nefarious ways in a different manner to where we're going, we need to be aware of that as well. And the best thing to do is to ask questions. But I just suggest that we don't, when we're talking to Spiros, that we don't sort of come to any ask questions from preconceived conclusions if you don't have all the evidence through there. As I say, I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt. I have spoken with him a fair bit, and the last few weeks when I've rung him, he's been answering and talking to me. So I put a link up for the Odyssey channel. It's called Reality Bites, B-Y-T-E-S, 2 words, Reality Bites. It's sort of a play on words. Robert. So if you'll bear with me on that one, mate. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, okay. So we can sort of pick up from where we were as well, Dick. I think we were talking the other night about assisting you with our interpretation of your documents and maybe in expressing the facts that you relay in a varied format.
Yeah. It's good that sort of, in that sense, sort of, it helps people get around the idea. You know, sort of, it's a big issue to get your head around it to start off with.
Yes.
If we could just go quickly through a few things, like we were talking about, they don't recognise our law. So if we just say in 1960 they took over the Governor General. By taking over the Governor General, when he's appointed, is the Chief Justice of the High Court, which appoints him and accepts his oath. He doesn't appoint him, I shouldn't say, but the Crown appoints him, but it's the Chief Justice of the High Court that accepts his oath.
Yes.
So we lost our High Court at that point because they stepped into the treason that with the Governor General. Then you go to the war with Vietnam. We lost our Commander-in-Chief because the political parties took the defence force for the defence of the Commonwealth of Nations into a battle where we're telling somebody on the other side of the world how to live, which had nothing to do with us whatsoever. And now we find out that the Yanks started that bloody war to suit themselves anyway.
Yes.
Then you go to 1965 to 1966, where every parliament and every state governor signed enacted an act with Crown authority to create the dollar, which took us all those out of the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act as well. So in a sense, at that point in time, we've lost our Governor General, we've lost our Commander-in-Chief, we've lost our High Court of Australia, we've lost our governors of every state with what they've done at that point. So, and then at that point also in 1966, we've lost our state courts, Supreme Courts, because those judges are paid in dollars as well, and they haven't kicked up about it. This whole thing boils down to what's written.
Yes.
Then you go to 1973, they own the Governor Generals, so they can basically do what they want. So when they turn around and do the Acts Interpretation Act, it's only a con job of them even thinking that they're even in that system, because they've just wiped it clean out. Like I say, the 7 most important people in this country is the Governor General and the 6 state governors. They own them, all lock, stock and barrel. From that point forward, from 1966 forward, or 1960 forward, 1966 forward for the state ones, they own them. They're all compromised.
So Dick, as far as you're concerned, when would you consider is the last year that we had valid legislation get passed?
Well, I'd like to think some of our legislation's valid, even after 1966. But you've got governors that are compromised. So, in my opinion, when they're paid in dollars, that's basically the end of it.
Excuse me. Yes, Spiros.
Yes, I can't get in. Won't let me in. Direct. Normally I just press the link and it gets me straight in, but now it's asking for my email address and my password, and I tried it all. And
Oh, it must be trying to get through your account. You shouldn't have to do that.
no, shouldn't have to do that. So I don't know. Is there any way?
Yeah.
If I go into Zoom, can you just give me the details right now? If I go into Zoom.
Yeah. Well, hang on. I can. Have you got your email on your phone?
Yeah. What's the meeting ID number?
Well, yeah, I've got the meeting ID number. But if you went into your email, I've actually sent you an email. You should be able to just click on the link.
Yeah, I can't do my emails. Give me the ID number. I think I could get in this way. What's my meeting ID number?
Okay, hang on. I'll just have a look. And I'll get that. So I'm just on the meeting. I'll just copy it into the chat. No, I won't. This is not working. Paste.
You can call it out. I'll type it in.
Yep. Just bear with me, mate. I have to go to my email. I should get Dick to ring you, and he can sort it out.
Bloody hell.
I'll get it. I know that bloody hell was from Dick.
This is the first Governor General that wasn't appointed.
Unbelievable. You know, it should be a simple thing. And always when you need it to work, it doesn't want to work. But anyway.
Yeah, no, we'll get there. Just bear with me, because I've got to find my bloody password as well. And I get in there without doing that, because it's a pain. Tells me it's copied it, and it hasn't copied it. Just excuse me, mate. I'll just get the notepad up and get it on. Okay, the meeting ID is 827 6485 5563.
Join. Meeting passcode.
772063.
Now this is a bitch. I get this thing saying, please read and agree to the following before you enter.
Yeah,
But
just
I can't agree.
we just
Nowhere for me to press I agree.
just sign up. Why swipe up?
Oh,
Scroll it up. It's got agree on the bottom.
some reason stops at the time rate.
If you change the aspect of your phones, change it from portrait to landscape, you might go better.
Same shit, different bucket, mate. Oh, hang on, agree. Hang on, come on. Agree. Oh, come on. Oh yeah, I'm in. Hang on. Going with video.
Spiros, now is that you?
Yes, Spiros.
You're in. Okay, there you go. Spiros, you're in. I can see you. Okay. Excuse me. So welcome, Spiros. Thanks for persevering to get in here. So I'll just ask you to unmute. If you can you unmute yourself, Spiros? There you go. That should be good.
Hello.
So you got the Kentucky Fried in the car, mate, so you don't go hungry?
Hello.
So you've got your camera on, we can see you in the room. Can you hear me, Spiros? You would appear not. Spiros, you can't hear?
No, I can't hear.
You can't hear. If you were to speak, we would hear you. Okay. So I think he's probably going to try and join again. You would see. Sorry for the messing around. As you can see, he's trying to get in. Yeah, so maybe he'll make it back. Maybe he'll make it back in. Is that what those? That's what's on your top there, mate. The crumbs. I'm wondering what that was. So I knew it wasn't dandruff. Excuse me, Dick. You might as well continue. I've lost Spiros.
Okay. Well, we were talking last night about the Acts Interpretation Act, where it says that sort of when they turn around and talk about the Acts Interpretation Act, they talk about the words there where it says to amend the Acts Interpretation Act of 1901 and 1966. They have walked their way clean out of all our acts.
Yep.
Now, I sent you an email about 7 o'clock. Can you just open that up, please? It's just the where they created their parliament.
Yep.
One's the Royal Styles and Titles Act. It's the clean part of where I have all my rubbish over.
Yep.
And the letters patent.
You really annoy my secretary, I can tell you. Bringing these things through in the last minute. Got a phone in one hand and a computer in the other. And I actually checked the emails to see if you'd sent me anything. I was good. So which one do you want first, Royal Style and Titles or the letters patent?
Yes, please. Yeah, Royal Styles and Titles.
Okay, hang on
We
just.
can just...
Spiros.
I can do it. I know what happened. My fault.
Yeah, well, you were in there. We could sort of hear you, but I knew you couldn't hear me.
My card clicked in and went on my bloody card. Give me the number again for the meeting ID. I'll get back in this time.
Yep, no worries. Hang on just a second. Okay. Okay. Meeting ID is 827
827
6485.
5563.
Correct.
Got it. Join meeting. And now it's going to ask me for my meeting code, which is
772
772
063.
063. Okay. Right, click agree. Good with video.
Yes, you're in now. I'm just downloading a file.
So, just on.
Okay, now I'll have to.
There you go.
Okay, I'll have to unmute you in the meeting.
Testing on.
There you go.
Testing.
Okay, well, you're on your phone still, so maybe if we get off the phone, then Zoom might work. Yeah.
Hang on.
Okay.
Testing.
There you go, Spiros. You're testing.
Yay, testing. 1, 2, 3.
Some people have told me they find you very testing. Sorry, mate. There'll be worse to come, probably.
It's only early.
Yeah, it's only early. And thanks very much for persevering, getting in here.
Yay, we're in.
So, I suppose really what I'd like to do is find out what you're up to, what you're doing, where we need to steer you straight, or where you need to steer us straight, or just to work out where we're at. Because the biggest thing that we need is we need people together. So
Yes.
even if we're doing slightly different things, but we're heading for the same goal, that's all right. So, but we've got to define these things and work it out. So I really, really do appreciate you coming on, because there's a couple of things that have occurred recently that aren't my favourite cup of tea. So anyway, so there we go. Now I've got Dick here as well. So if you'd like to say hello to Dick.
G'day, Dick.
Hey, Spiro.
How are you? Long time no speak.
Hey. Yeah.
I speak about you behind your back all the time, but every now and then. But it's always flattering. I always give you credit. I said this guy's my master. I said I learnt more in one bloody day reading.
You just dropped out.
Yeah, we just lost your sound again.
Got it back. Somebody's trying to ring me, but I disconnected them.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, that'll happen. But all right, my quick update is, well, I say quick, there's only 4 topics. On the issue of the councils, I'm having a bugger of a time finding mayors, but as soon as we find one, we go and we create another council. There are 5 that I'm aware of so far. So on a positive note, we've managed to start 5 of our own councils, Frankston being the most aggressive one of all. And that was the first one with Burgess Darren. So that's okay. On the People's Trust, I've decided that in 2023, I'm going to change the way we're going to behave with the People's Trust. I'm just going to issue class actions. I can't be running all these little court cases for people. It's just become a nightmare. It's completely bogged me down and caused me to fail on every other front. Just it was stupid. I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm finishing off all the cases that I've taken on, and all I'm going to do in 2023, beginning with the big class action that I've started, is I'm just going to sue class actions. My top 5 that I'm going to do is I've started the class action for anybody who suffered financial loss as a result of the lockdowns or any of the nonsense regarding COVID. So that one's going well. I'm going to start one for
It's just
getting
a big case in, sorry, it's just a big case one in America on that.
Oh, get out.
They
Is
got,
there?
yes, just a big case today. I got sent a case. They
Oh.
got $10 million between 500 people, and then they got, I think on top of that, they're getting paid for all their fees and everything as well.
Oh, send it to me, Dick. That's a gold mine. I told everybody I was going to win. I told them I was going to win. Fucking doubting Thomases.
I don't have, yeah, I don't have it anymore, but it should be going around the bloody circuit.
Okay, it was in. Do you know where in America? Like which?
No,
do you know?
not sure.
That's
You
all
know
right.
who
It'll
sent
go.
it to you, Dick?
It was on one of the runs. Yeah, you get 4 or 5 things from America, and it was in one of those. So
All
I'd say I don't think it's going to go quiet.
No. Well, on a positive note, on 1st of February, I'm issuing in all states against the respective health departments. I'm also going to start a class action for getting everyone's certificate of titles back because we've got to put a stop to that scam, destroying everybody's titles. That's not on. So, so I'm starting a class action after February of 2023, probably by, I would think, the 1st of April. I should have it ready and I'll launch that. I'm going to then attack, I'm trying to start a class action against Fines Victoria, but I can't find out what kind of an entity they are. They don't have an ACN, they don't have an ABN. I mean, what am I dealing with here? This is it's a pretend organisation. I've got nothing.
It'll be like the Queen of Australia, mate. 3 words on a piece of paper.
Well, it must be, and I can't believe they've gotten away with all this nonsense for so long, and they're not even a freaking entity. They can't even, I can't find them to sue them, but I will find them. I will find out who they are, what's behind them. I had a rumour that some British companies just bought them out, and I've got the name of that company. So it's like I'm trying to. It's ridiculous that I'm trying to find the entity to sue, and yet this is the entity that's collecting hundreds of millions of dollars every year in Australia or in Victoria.
So if somebody pays them through their credit cards or were to send them a check, wouldn't there be a record of who has to cash that, where it's the destination that's got to go?
No, it probably says Fines Victoria, and I'm like, yeah, but who the hell are you? Are you a corporation? Are you well, you're not a government department. We know that. So you must have an ABN. You must be, I think, nothing on the letterhead. Straight away, I thought this is not right. There's no ABN on the letterhead. There's nothing here.
Yeah, but that's not a measure.
Yeah, but there's no ACN. There's no ABN. There's no nothing. I couldn't find them on ASIC. So I'm going to find them. I'm just letting you know what I'm doing in 2023. I'm not dropping. That's wrong English. I'm finishing off all the private little cases that I took on for people, you know, at the beginning when I thought there'd only be 2 or 3, and now it's gone into the tens of, I think I'm on to 55 cases at the moment on my desk, and they just suck up all your time. So when they're all gone, no more new ones. I've just said to everyone, no, I'm not doing it. I'm just going to sue big class actions, just take them all out. So certificates of title, any financial damage, that's my first one. Certificates of title is my second one. Then we'll go for Fines Victoria. Then we'll go for councils and all these council rates, whatever they are. Then I want to go for fluoride water. Then I want to see if we can find out who's been spraying the air, and we can go them too. So I've got about 6 cases next year that I want to start, and that's all I want to do. So my councils are going ahead. Oh, and the last thing I want to do is open up banks. Not me, you know what I mean. Find people to open up gold standard banks. I know how to do it. I'm just at the early stages of trying to find some people who are prepared to actually get a shop in the main street and put up a sign and open up for business. So I figure if I can get mayors, then I know that once we've got 100 certificate of titles, once I've got 100 landlords signing on to my council, then I can have my own sheriff. And I believe I've been informed that my sheriff can have as many deputies as he wants. So in theory, I've got a police force, and that's it. And of late, the only thing that's happened interesting of late is somehow the Indigenous people have gotten onto me and they need help. They're all been trying to set up their own councils and such up there in the up in Northern Queensland and Northern Territory, and I wasn't involved. You know, I knew them, but they didn't ask.
Shouldn't they be with us?
Shouldn't they be?
Shouldn't be any different than being with us.
I don't know.
Because we're all bloody one people.
Well, I know that, but I wasn't involved with them. It's just that in the last 48 hours, I forget their names now.
Jagamara.
Yeah, he's written to me because he just got served. Now, apparently they wrote letters to Prince Charles and they were all good to go. And he just rang me up and said, I just got served with the Supreme Court documents to vacate my premises. I said, well, don't you have a legal team? He says, no. I said, well, how the hell have you done anything without, who's your lawyer? And
So you don't know Jagamara, do you?
no, I'm like, I know them from phone calls and texts, but I don't know them and I'm not involved with them. I mean, I'd love to help them. They didn't ask me. I thought they just had really good lawyers working for them.
I know Jagamara.
Yeah, well, I don't know him. All I know is they've now been served and they've asked, they can't prepare their own defences, so I'm doing it for them, which I'm happy to do. I'm not complaining.
I'll just tell you that with Jagamara, you may find that if you're aligned with him, there'll be an exceptional number of Aboriginal people you will not be aligned with.
Well, then I don't know what to say. At the moment, you know me, I don't know anybody, and whoever asks for help, until you tell me otherwise, I just help people thinking.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So the first thing, we have to have a talk further, but there's a lot more to it. But the first part is he's not Aboriginal.
Well, we better have a private chat because tomorrow I'm supposed to be doing his defence, which I don't mind doing. It's just,
he's sort of been adopted. He bought his way into the Warlpiri Nation, and he went through initiation with the Warlpiri, and I know that, and I've spent time with Jagamara in Alice Springs, and we also went out to the Warlpiri together with a couple of other people. But there's a lot of other people I'm aware of that he's been connected with who he can't go anywhere near anymore for his own safety, and it probably goes both ways. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Now, is he also still involved with TAP?
Yes, I believe he is. That's who put him on to me. That was
okay. So what's your involvement with TAP?
The same. I know them. I've met them.
Okay,
but
so
I'm not involved.
You've got Lance and Kent.
Yeah, that's
and
them.
I've had some involvement there, and we've got somebody else that's involved. And Lance so far hasn't honoured arrangements that he's made in private with people, and he's gone out public telling things that weren't true to put himself in a better light at the expense of somebody else. So and I was in a meeting, Jackie Dundee was in the meeting as well, where Jagamara claimed that he was a participant in a court case 12 years ago. And I know he wasn't. I know for a fact that he wasn't. And when we're asked for the documentation to prove the claim, Lance, you can see me, can't you? Lance went, oh, have we got the evidence? We've got all the evidence. And so we asked for a copy of it. And it's been 5-6 months and we don't have a copy because it can't provide a copy of something that doesn't exist. So I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, but there's a whole lot of things with PMAs where people think PMAs are some sort of magic bullet, which I sincerely doubt. And we've always had PMAs. They just weren't known as PMAs. But if you joined the local tennis club, you were in a PMA. Like if you joined the Rotary Club or Lions or so many different things. So people think that, I've got a contract, I'm in a group with a contract and we didn't contract with you, so you can't put fluoride in the water I drink.
Yeah.
You know, it's just ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. I've steered away. Look, so many people have asked me about those PMAs. You know what I told them? I don't frigging understand them. I said, I don't understand them. If I understood it, I'd probably join it. But no one's explained it to me in such a way that I could understand what the hell benefit I get. I said, I'm already a free person in a free country. What more do I need to do?
Well,
I said,
if you,
I can do it. I can do as I please. I said, why do I need someone's permission to drop out of something I'm not even in? I never understood. To this day, I can't tell you what it actually is.
no, I agree with you. There isn't, you can't understand it because it doesn't make sense. And
Well,
it's
I'm
like
glad
it's
you
been-
did it because it didn't make sense to me. It didn't
No,
make
but
sense.
I would
to me at all.
expect if you would have more experience in being able to make sense of it. To me, it made no sense for the reasons that you said. See, with Craig Oldroyd, he was talking about PMAs, how important they are, and then getting recognised by WIPO. Now, do you know who WIPO are? The WIPO are an unfunded or is that what they call it? Arm of the United Nations. I said, why would you go to why would you have the United Nations acknowledge you as being real when they're not real? Like when they're a fiction. This is the thing that people don't realise. They drop themselves into the corporate world of acts and statutes when they're above it, if they're standing with the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1901 as proclaimed and gazetted. So it's a messy area. So you've frozen. Your signal's not very strong. I can see you might be better off without the camera on, Spiros, if you can hear me. Must have thrown too many words through the thing. We think we might have. Okay, you there, Spiros? Let me see. Okay.
You there?
Yes, got you back. You
Yeah.
turned your camera off?
Yeah, I turn my camera off. Maybe that's going to work better.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah,
So look-
right. Yeah. Oh, well, good, because I actually for a while thought there was something. I've gotten older, my brain couldn't understand it because everyone was so convinced that it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and to this day, I actually couldn't explain it to somebody to sell it to them. If you said to me, "Here, sell them this concept," I'm like, I don't understand it myself. How can I sell it? I don't understand.
Well, the thing is,
why I'm asking permission from anybody to do. I don't need anyone's permission in a free country, you knuckleheads.
no, yeah, and we've already got people already have. It's like an association. It's just you have some rules that we want to get together and do some stuff. We put down words on paper and saying, well, this is who we are. This is what we're going to do, and this is the conditions that we combine with each other on.
Exactly.
Pretty simple.
Pretty simple. That's what I tell people, and they all look at me like, no, you got to get it ratified and this and that. And I'm thinking, I don't understand a word you're saying. You people haven't read the Constitution because the Constitution.
It's like the people that go and unincorporate their name.
Yeah, what the fuck? What even is that? I don't even know how my name got incorporated in the first bloody place. I said I never incorporated my name, and how can I be a party to something I've never understood? I said that's an automatic voidie.
Yeah.
It said there's no meeting of minds. I said what's this nonsense about a contract that I'm involved in when I was born? Somebody signed me up to a bloody contract. I said I'm a minor. I'm not bound by any contract until I'm 18. I said none of you guys make sense, and they just hang up or they just go off as if Spiros doesn't get it. He'll have to get it eventually. So, but I still haven't got it. So
Yeah,
I have no idea what it is, mate. No idea what it is.
No, that's because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's not.
Good.
People can associate with each other anyway, but it's not going to stop the enemy from attacking you. It's not going to stop the pirates from putting up a false flag and raiding your ship.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
All right. Well, then don't
Yeah.
worry about it. So I'm not doing that. So that's where I'm up to. I'm just focused on what I thought I was going to do, which is start lawsuits, which I'm comfortable doing, try and open up councils. And I like the idea of trying to get our own bank because we need a bank to trade. And as long as we're locked into these banking systems, they'll shut us down and snatch our money at a heartbeat. So I'm now desperate to find some people who are prepared to actually open up a bank and start trading so that I can go and deposit my money in there and say, good, here's my money.
Okay.
Don't
So
give it to anyone who asks for it,
Yeah, well, I've got something in that area that might be of interest that we can talk about just outside of here because it's I don't want to have people thinking that something's in place that isn't in place. But by the same token, it's a conversation I'm involved with people in another area. So,
Okay.
and these people have got a lot of technology behind them. So,
Okay.
which is something that we need. Now, can we clear up a couple of things?
Okay.
Because there's a couple of concerns that I've had, and here's one of them. I really enjoy speaking with you, and I believe that we need somebody with your personality to move forward, to attract other people, and to stand up as you do. But what I've been concerned about is around about being a barrister or not, having been a barrister. Can
Yes.
you clear that up for me? Because and I'll tell you where I'm at, from what I've been able to find out, because I look at things, I can't find evidence of you ever being a barrister.
Yes, that you just got to look in the right spot. Okay, in 1984, I started work as a junior clerk in a Jewish law firm in Elsternwick in Victoria. A year or so or two after that, I left. I started my own firm. For almost 20 years, I ran my own firm. In that capacity, these are the things that I did have. I behaved professionally as a solicitor for clients with leave. I was by occupation a barrister for 18 years, thousands of court cases. I've never, I swore the oath, but the oath that I swore was the original in front of anyway, he went on to become a Chief Justice. But I swore the oath early on, but it wasn't the bullshit oath they swear now. It wasn't to the Queen of Australia. I swore, what's it called, the oath of abdication. I've forgotten it now, it was too many years ago. But I appeared in thousands of court cases by the leave of the court, because way back then, even now, there were 3 ways you could appear in a courtroom to represent a client. You could either be a barrister by certification and signing on to the Law Institute, a solicitor by certification and signing on to the Law Institute, or an attorney. I went in as an attorney. Having done that, I still swore the oath. So, you know, I've sworn the oath. Most of the solicitors, if not all of them now today who are practicing, haven't sworn the oath. They have no legal right to be in a courtroom. But I actually did. But having said that, by profession and by occupation, that's what I did. I did it with the leave of the court in every jurisdiction from VCAT right up to High Court. And I did that for 18 years until I burnt out. And then I just walked away from it. And I went into property development, and that was what I did. And for 20 years, I've been a property developer. So,
Okay, so you're still there? So I can see from my screen, Spiros' signal's is not great. I know he's had to go to the top of a hill.
sorry, you there?
Yeah,
Testing
got
one.
you back.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah,
just
someone
explaining
look.
to people that I can see your signal's not good.
Yeah, what happens is when idiots ring me, I mean, middle of the night, and I know who they are, I can see the name coming up. They're just
ringing again. So that's a problem when you're on the phone. Well, that's encouraging. So that means Spiros could see my name and still answered. So that's good. So I'm lucky. Look, Dick doesn't have caller ID on his phone. He just answers anybody. So now let me see.
what I haven't got. Here's what I have got. 18 years of appearing for clients in court cases. My firm's name was Aid and Abet. I had 5 different companies because I was also a mercantile agent. We had a big private eye firm. We were process servers. I mean, you know, I was heavy into litigation. I did everything. But the firm that I did the firm that I did most of my issuings in was Aid and Abet. But I also had teams of lawyers working for me. I mean, we had 100 staff. I had offices in Mumbai, India. I had offices in Sydney. I had offices in Victoria. I mean, that's what I did. That's what I did for 18
So let me
years.
ask you a question. That you've got a patent, I think, was lodged in Greece.
Which one? Because that's another thing I did. That's true. I came up with a few, one or two inventions, and I filed patents for shit way back then. That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, this is what I mean. It was 40 years ago. I mean, who remembers every detail? But yeah, there'll be a record on Google of that. There'll be a record on Google if you type in either my surname or aid and abet. You'll see cases that are still on Google. You'll see newspaper articles on me. I was on TV. I had my own TV show.
I think your TV show only aired in New Zealand and Europe, though, didn't it?
Correct. In Victoria, I had different. I did my my reality TV show didn't air in Victoria because I had to blank out the faces and it wouldn't work. I said I can't blank out the faces. I said I have to blank out the faces, and they wouldn't allow it. And I said, but the cases haven't come to court. You're not allowed to show faces of people unless they've been convicted. I said these people haven't been convicted because I had file footage of crimes, and that was part of the TV show. We would show
Spiros,
footage.
I'll have to pull you up there, mate. That can't be right. Otherwise, we wouldn't know the names and faces of the people that died in Queensland recently.
Well, no, that's different.
Yeah, I know it's different.
Yeah, it's different because mine were. I caught. We had video footage of crimes, but you got to wait until they're convicted because everyone's innocent until they're convicted.
Yeah, I know. What I'm saying is that in my experience, they'll tell you stuff on the news, and you don't get somebody's name.
Yes.
And you know it's genuine. But when they give you all the names, it's a setup.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's true too. And that's the other thing. And I'll tell you something and bugger it because it's so long ago. I'm happy to say this. But what I used to do was there were things back then called, Australia's Dumbest Criminals, all that sort of stuff. These were all specials on television. Well, they were all me. If you can find any of them and you look at the credits, you'll see aid and abet, file footage from aid and abet. I was responsible. I was the only private security library of footage. Today, there are millions of video scenes of robberies and murders and all sorts of things on, my son's got 100,000 on his phone. But way back then, before mobile phones, we're talking, 2000, 1999, 2000, 2001, we didn't have any of this technology. I had micro cameras, face recognition, because I brought that into Australia. All of this stuff, because that's what I did. Because of my video library, I had enough footage to do TV shows. And every week without fail, Current Affair, Today, Tonight, these were the these were the shows we had back then. Current Affair, Today, Tonight, 60 Minutes. I don't think they're still going now. I don't watch TV, but way back then they were the most popular 7:30 programs. Whenever they had footage, it was my footage. That's how big I was. I was the only guy, and I owned my footage. The police wouldn't release their footage way back in those days. Nowadays they sell it, but back in those days they didn't. And that's what I used to do. So on top of all the other things that we've just said. So yes, I did file a world patent for something. That was a long time ago. I think it's lapsed now.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
But and you're right, New Zealand, it aired in New Zealand on primetime television. We did really well. So I'm famous in New Zealand, 20 years ago. Who'd recognize me now? But yeah, so this is what I did. I was the only, I kid you not, I was the only private organization licensed in Victoria to collect stamp duty. I was so big, my firm was so big that the State Revenue Office approached me and they asked me if we would be prepared to be given a stamp and stamp transfers and mortgages instead of taking them to the State Revenue Office, because we were jamming up their counters for hours at a time and it was buggering up their administration. So they deputized me and they gave me my own stamp, aid and abet stamp, and one in every 3 transfers for those 3 years that I was there has my stamp on it, not the State Revenue Office stamp. I mean, that's who I was. Now, anybody who knows where to look, I've just told you where to look. I've just told them where to look. Go and look there. And if I'm wrong, then you won't find it. But you'll find it because I then had a 12-year court case with the State Revenue Office because they audited me one day and I was out. And I said, mate, we process $1 billion a year worth of stamp duty.
So were you out to the tune of 3.5 million?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
And well, that's what they alleged. Of course, I denied it. I said, mate, and even if it was the case, it was 0.001%. And I said, I couldn't give a shit. It's not my job anyway. I said, I'm doing you a favor. You're not paying me. And now you're bloody suing me. And they couldn't sue me because they had no act. They found an act in 1800 and something that hadn't been used, that had been repealed. And they used this obscure act that nobody had ever sued anybody in Australia on. And they got me on that. And they said, well, we're suing you on this. And it took 12 years from start to finish. By the time we finished, they won. And I ended up eventually losing. I won. We went to a High Court of Appeal. They won the appeal. We went back to the Supreme Court. We ran the court case. And in the end, after 12 years, I bloody well lost. So that was the saga of that. So if I'm lying, how did that happen? You know, how do you explain that? That happened.
No,
that's a matter
that
of
sort of
record.
cleared that up because I found it difficult to find information on that.
Yeah, but well, it was a private court case. I mean, there was no reason for it to be public. But you would have found it because after that, they pursued me for bankruptcy. They drove me to bankruptcy. They took all my properties. I mean, it turned out really bad for me. But I didn't care. You know, it's just life.
Well, I wasn't going to raise it, but you sort of opened the door. So.
Oh, well, I'm happy to, because that's who I am. It's me, and you're asking me. I'm telling you everything. Everything I say is true. I know it's crazy. It's true. I mean, I was in 9/11 6 hours before the towers evaporated. I mean, that's true too. Check my passport, you know. So all of this shit just doesn't sound true because it's too, because everyone.
No, that's all right. I'm not concerned.
It's all true, you know.
There's certain things you're giving us some clarity on your history, and that you're a barrister through action, not necessarily title. Would that
yes,
be?
Yeah, exactly right. And now I'm neither, because now they've banned me from even appearing as an attorney. The last time I was in the Supreme Court for a case, I was prohibited.
Yep.
I did what I always did. I applied, as always. I said, this is my antecedents. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been retired, Your Honour. I said, but I have a power of attorney in my possession. I've been appointed attorney for this case by the client. And he said, I understand, but the court has the Supreme Court has not jurisdiction, has I've lost the word now, but discretion.
Yep.
And we're exercising our discretion on this occasion. We're not allowing you to appear. And
So,
I was like,
Spiros, so on that side of things, has anybody ever tried to take the Law Society to court for to sue them for running a monopoly?
no, but that's another class action we can run. Thank you for giving me my 8th class action. I mean, I'll take them all on because they're all a bunch of crooks. I know they are, but I haven't. And, you know, look, the other thing I didn't tell you, why has it taken me 2.5 years to get a court case into the Supreme Court? Because 2.5 years ago, before I met you, before I read the book, Dick's book, before I knew anything, when I was going on gut feel alone that this was all wrong, I went to the Supreme Court to file an action against Brett Sutton, and they rejected it. And I said, on what grounds are you rejecting my writ? And they said, because the Health and Wellbeing Act is governed by VCAT. I said, no, this is a constitutional thing. It's a Supreme Court. And they said, because they had no idea what I was talking about, because no one understood what I was saying 2.5 years ago. And they said, no, that's our finding. You need to go to VCAT. You need to fight this in VCAT. That's the jurisdiction. So I said, fine. So I went to VCAT. 2.5 years later, here we are. The case has been heard. And what do you reckon the Deputy President of VCAT says in her ruling? VCAT has no jurisdiction on a constitutional issue. You have to go to the Supreme Court. oh, gee, you freaking reckon. And now I'm starting my class action because at least now I know they can't kick me out, because if they try the same stunt again, I'm going to say, I've been there and I have a written ruling from VCAT, which is your NCAT, I think, which is only a tribunal down here. It's no jurisdiction at all. They're nobodies, you know. But that's why I had to go. Everyone laughed at me, said, oh, you got beaten. I said, I didn't get beaten. I had to go to establish that it was the wrong place to go.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I told people about that for a start. I said, well, we were sort of under the impression that it was Supreme Court, but it wasn't. It was a tribunal. And I said the tribunal doesn't have jurisdiction over what Spiros was doing. And then we said, and he lost. And I said, but that doesn't mean he's wrong. That could actually be a feather in your cap, because just because you lose in court doesn't mean that you didn't have a good argument or the correct argument, because they're so criminal. So now you're running this again. You're running it up to the Supreme Court, are you?
Well, now I'm doing the class action because I couldn't do it before, because I thought I was in with a shot. But once they say no, you can't make the courts run a case. They just won't take the filing. You know that they won't take the filing. They wouldn't take the filing, and there wasn't any way. I didn't know. And to be fair, it does say that VCAT is the jurisdiction. I mean, it's actually in the Act. Even though the Act isn't an Act, it's only a bill, it did say in the bill that you got to go to VCAT. So I thought, well, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, it's my first time. I thought, okay, you know what? I actually did sort of kind of think I was wrong. So I went to VCAT. In the end, I wasn't wrong. I was right. There was a constitutional argument. They got no jurisdiction. It should have been at least the Supreme Court, if not the High Court. And that's why now I'm comfortable doing a class action, because I know where I need to be. I need to be in the Supreme Court or the High Court, and I'll let the judge decide, because once I file my application, he'll see that it's a constitutional issue, and he'll have to make the decision whether he bounces it up or whether he handles it himself.
Well,
I don't care.
It has
But
to
the
go
courts,
up. But so how do you go there if they're not? How are you going to present the case if they're not going to let you be an attorney?
Because the beauty about it is this: I don't have any problem at all if I'm initiating an action.
Yep.
It's when I'm defending other people that have already been charged. They're not letting me do that. So what they've done is they've exercised their discretion not to allow me to be a defense counsel. But they can't stop me being a prosecutor. They can't stop me initiating an action and running the entire case if I'm the one who's the protagonist. And that's the difference. And that's why I'm saying I'm not worried, because I'm going to sue. I'm not waiting for them to sue me. I'm going to sue them. And if I sue them, I can't be stopped. I can't be prevented from appearing. So in that regard, I'm right up to the High Court. Can't be stopped. There's
Okay, so
nothing
you're the one that's leading the case. But so how does the class action tie in? Because I don't have, like, I've went to court, like I've only been to court a couple of times myself. I don't have any expertise in that area. So how does you going in there as being the main litigant and as a class action, how does that work?
Well, the beauty about multiple applicants is that just because there are 50 applicants, usually they all hire one barrister. So ordinarily what would happen is, let's say, even if you had 100 applicants, logically, they would all put in and hire one barrister, and that barrister would run the case, and you wouldn't necessarily call 100 witnesses. If the evidence was the same, and especially my case, which is you don't have an act upon which to rely. No, the only evidence I need to produce there is the lack of an assent. That's all. I need to turn up to court and say, I challenge your validity of your act. You don't have assent. If you don't have assent, you don't have an act. That is my prima facie case. So I'm going to run
royal assent.
Yeah, of course, royal assent. That's the only assent. Sorry,
You can't get it in. Yeah, but you can't get it in Australia.
No, you can't get royal assent in Australia. They don't have royal assent, since they haven't received royal assent to any of their.
So how come the courts have got royal assent? Because they haven't got royal assent either.
They haven't got royal assent either. You know it, I know it. We all know. We all read the book. Well, you wrote it. We all read the book, and then it's fucking black and white. You cannot, as far as I'm aware, you cannot go to court on a bill. It has to be an act. And it isn't an act
Yeah, but
until the
what
Queen decides it is.
Yeah, that's right. But what I'm getting at is, since we joined, or not we, but since the political parties created a sovereign independent federal nation and then created the states into a sovereign independent federal nation, you can't get royal assent in any of those cases.
No, none of that is.
Under any of those things. So
Yeah.
there's no jurisdiction for the courts to hear anything.
No, that's if you assume that these corporations pretending to be politicians had any power at all. In order to do everything they did, they needed an act. They didn't have an act in the first place to do the bullshit that they said they were going to do. You can't.
That's quite right.
No politician can just get up there. First off, they're not politicians, so let's get that straight. Second off, even if they were, there's a protocol. It's in the Constitution. You know what it is. First, you got to put it to the bloody House of Reps. They've got to agree to it. Then it bounces up to the Senate. They've got to agree to it. Then it goes to the Judiciary to make sure that it's actually not illegal. They've got to sign off on it. And then finally it goes to the Governor General. Now, what happens if none of those steps were taken? Not one of those steps was taken, and all four.
We don't have a Governor General either.
Correct.
And we don't have a state governor.
That's right, which means you couldn't have had an act. You had no authority to change anything. And since you have no authority to change anything, we're back to me. And back to me is, absent an act, everything you did was ultra vires. And therefore, you owe me money because you had no right to do what you did. I suffered a loss. It's a tort. So I'm suing them on a tort. I'm saying you got no act upon which to rely and therefore no indemnity. You're not indemnified. You're a corporation and you owe me money. And you owe all these other people money too because they all suffered as a result of your unauthorised action. If they were authorised, they might have a defence. And then we'd be arguing a merits argument, and I'm not going to court on a merits argument any day, ever, because that's going to, I know where that ends up, I lose. I lose.
That then takes out all your councils.
Yep, takes out
Same argument.
Yeah, exactly.
On everything
There's only
forward.
one thing. Hey, I learned that off you, my dear friend. That was my
I'm
smoke.
just making sure I'm just making sure we're on the same page.
There's only one
you said
page,
about
mate,
taking the
you wrote
councils. But there's that much against councils. It's not funny.
That's why I said to you, councils are going to be on my hit list in 2023. Because I've been getting yelled at all over the place, not the least of which from bloody Steve, but because I'm never, you can't be found, I can't be reached, I can never answer a call. Everyone thinks I'm sleeping on the beach. They have no idea what I do. I sit in a freaking courtroom all day over a COVID mask, case because I agreed to help the people out, and so I stuffed myself up. That was okay. I own that one. You were right.
Now,
I should have seen that. I should have seen that coming.
I have to tell you that I've been telling people that when I ring you, you answer me. Because that's what you've done.
You're going to have to wash your mouth out with soap, mate.
I think so.
No,
too.
I told them that when I ring you, you answer me. And I've told them that the problem that I have is that I found that you weren't ever a barrister as such. Now, when you say, because people take things like that means that you're a member of the bar, right? Or you're part of the law society or whatever. But what you've explained is the same as an attorney. An attorney is somebody who does something in somebody else's stead. Like I can be your attorney to cut your hedge because you don't want to do it, but I'll be your attorney and cut your hedge. So it's a very simple thing. So through action, you've been carrying out the actions of a barrister, you might say, for that time. Would that be a better way of looking at it? There you go.
In 84, 86.
Spiros, you were on mute, mate.
Hello. Am I on mute now?
You're unmuted now. I don't know why that happened.
Sorry. I don't know. But anyway, in the Imperial Acts Act, I think it's Imperial Acts Act 1914. Don't hold me to it because I'm dyslexic. It could have been 1419. But in the Imperial Acts Act, section, I think it's 86 or 84, it sets out in that act who is allowed to appear in a courtroom on behalf of someone else. And it lists 3 names. Number one, a barrister accredited by, a reputable, it doesn't say who a reputable accreditation is, but, we assume it means by some reputable accredited body, right?
Yep.
A solicitor accredited by the same body, or an attorney. But above all else, what it goes on to say is that any one of those three can appear, but they have to have sworn the oath. And it has to be the oath to the Queen of England. Because in 1914, well, it was the King, but in 1914, there was no Queen of Australia. It had to be the proper crown. And therefore, every single solicitor and barrister and judge since 1960 hasn't sworn the oath. They've sworn some other oath, but it's not the oath, and it's the wrong one. And you can't. That's the irony. Everyone is giving me shit because I don't have a license to practice as a solicitor, and yet I'm thinking, you ignorant idiots don't understand anything. The solicitor you're paying $5,000 a day to doesn't have any lawful right to be in a courtroom. He's got no standing. And if I wanted to call that, I could call that any day of the week. And I would win, because they'd have to prove they swore the correct oath, and they didn't. But I bloody well did.
They'd also have to prove there was somebody to hear it, to hear the oath. Because you can't just make it to thin air, can you? Spiros has gone again. Yeah.
I'm here. Testing.
Yeah, there you go. You're back again now. Yeah, so did you hear what I said?
Sorry. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you're back.
1, 2.
Did you hear what I said, Spiros?
No, mate, sorry. There's this same narc keeps ringing me 50 bloody times. He doesn't get the message. I'm on the phone. I can't talk to you,
Yeah, that's what's happening. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so what I said was you have to have an entity to say the oath to. That's the first thing. So there's nobody to hear the oath.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's nobody today to hear the oath. Way back then, 40 years ago, believe it or not, there were still some old judges who were appointed before the shutdown, before the lockdown, before the Governor General evaporated, and no one knows where the hell he went. And the guy that I swore, and I can't remember now, I think it was Walsh, but the guy that I swore my oath, which was the oath of abjuration. I only said it once, so I can't remember it, but it's something like that. It was I denounced all other, it was something like that. You denounce all other crowns and your loyalties to the king and all that sort of nonsense. That's the oath that I swore.
Yep.
So I didn't swear this bullshit. I swear to uphold the rules of the court according to the Queen of Australia. I don't even. That's not even an oath. That's just a made-up thing. That's just something you got out of a soapbox or something. That's bullshit. But
okay, so here's I'll put to you real straight. All right, you like to be a showman, and that's one of the features that we actually need, right? And it's good. But being a showman, sometimes you'll say things that lead people to make a conclusion that might be slightly different to what the facts are. So, because remember when Dick and I spoke to you, and I told you that Dick and I didn't trust you because you were a barrister?
yes.
And you said ex-barrister, ex-barrister, ex-barrister.
Yes.
So what you were saying was correct through your actions, but not correct through being a member of the bar. Is that fair?
That's perfectly fair, because now you know why. Because there were 3 ways we could do it. No, there was a 4th way.
I get there's 3 ways, but I need to clarify.
There was another one. You could go in as a police prosecutor. You could start as a copper. You could work your way up to running. So there were 4 ways. The 4th way doesn't appear in the Imperial Acts Act, but I believe that was another act that allowed for police to also come up through the rankings without having to sit the bar and become a prosecutor. And so you could be a police prosecutor as well. So there are 4 entities attorneys, solicitors, barristers, and police,
Prosecutor.
proper police, you know, proper
Okay,
police.
so there's people that challenge the police prosecutor for not having a practicing certificate.
Were there?
Yeah, there are. Because that's what they say, that because they don't have to be a member of the bar. And I know that people have been challenged that they can't appear for somebody in court because they don't have a practicing certificate, I think it is. So you can correct me on that, because a lot of people say license, but I think it's a practicing certificate, isn't it?
It's a practicing certificate. And for the record, that's not what the bloody Oaths Act says. So, or the Imperial Acts Act, that's not what it says. That's just how they misrepresent it to pass off the bullshit solicitors they're using at the moment. It actually says you need to have had accreditation, which means probably some university degree, and you need to have then sworn the oath. That's the most important part. I
Yes,
can
the
assure
oath.
you that that's the most important part. You need to swear allegiance to Her Majesty, and if you don't, you can't appear in her courtroom, because remember whose courtroom it is. It's Her
So
Majesty's courtroom.
So some of the judges that you, or magistrates that you would appear in front of, they'd be in breach of the Promissory Oath Acts, wouldn't they?
All of them, every single one, especially now. Maybe not 20 years ago. Some were, some weren't, depending on how old they were. But right now, there wouldn't be a sitting judge that swore the oath.
No
They
judiciary in this country valid.
No, I agree with you, mate. There wouldn't be. I can't imagine how old they must be if they were. They must have been 6 years old when they got sworn in, because you do the math.
Hey, Spiros, I've got...
The last judge that I know of was 1974, was in the High Court. When he retired, then it was a few years after that, they created their own High Court of Australia under their definition.
Yeah, well, that's all bullshit. So these are all kangaroo courts by true definition. Yeah. They sit under a kangaroo, and they are kangaroo courts. All these years we've been using these words, we don't know what they mean. Now these words are coming back to bite me. These words all mean something. Kangaroo court is exactly what it is. A pretend. Yep. People who appear without knowing, by voluntarily appearing in front, agreeing to the jurisdiction of that court. They're under no obligation. You and I could walk into a courtroom now and say, this courtroom, is this a courtroom of record? Is this a court of record? And they're going to say no. They can't say yes, because they're not. They're not Her Majesty's court. They're not Her Majesty's court. They're a corporate court.
Worries me in a system, because I sort of tell people, let them take you to court. Then you've got to say, but if you take them, you're going into their court as if it's got authority.
I know. It's back to front. You are correct. This is the dilemma I'm in. Right now, if I want to pick a fight, there's not a courtroom in Australia that you and I both know is legit. If I know it's not legit, I'm walking in there staring at a judge knowing that the guy hasn't sworn an oath. I've got more credentials than he has. I'm being vilified for not having credentials, but his credentials are invalid.
Yeah.
Mine are non-existent because I've lapsed, because I was 20 years ago. But at least I had them. At least at one point I'd sworn the bloody oath, and I appeared in courtrooms by the leave of the court. Otherwise, how did I do it? How would a judge let me there? What do the people think I did? I snuck in pretending to be a barrister. I mean, are they all mad? That doesn't happen. That's all in the movies. That doesn't happen. The judges know who you are. I grew up in the courts. That's where I cut my teeth, you know?
Well, I'm glad that we're able to clear that area up, because I take words fairly, well, literally. So we've been able to clear that area up. Now, let me move into another area. Now, with some things, if I ask you, and you'd rather not, because this is a recorded meeting, and if you would rather not answer it, that's sort of fair enough if we can talk about it outside and it doesn't have to be a public thing. But Prince Matthew.
Yes.
You know that guy?
Yes.
So what can you tell us about him and what he's doing?
He contacted me asking me whether I would be interested in being part of an international court. I said, in what capacity? He said, you choose, judge or prosecutor. I said, I'd rather be a prosecutor. He said, awesome, I would love to have you. I said, now just remind me, what jurisdiction do you have? And that's where it ended, because I'm like, guys, I don't understand. You got this lovely court out in the middle of bloody Egypt, or wherever the hell, I actually don't know where it is, but not in Australia. I said, so just remind me, we win a court case. What jurisdiction does your court have over Australian waters, over the land of Australia? I said, can I take your judgment and file it in Australian court and then exercise the warrants on it? And, you know, they're all like, yeah, well, yeah. And I'm just thinking, no. And I said to them, guys, I love you. I'll support you. I support anyone who's fighting. You know, an enemy of my enemy is a friend of mine. You know, that's my motto. So they're friends of mine because they're allegedly enemies of my enemy. But the reality of it is, to this day, and I know them as well as I know you, and I'm as kind and nice to them, and they're as friendly to me as you are. But I don't understand how they claim jurisdiction.
Well, they can't.
I don't
can't have
understand
it because
So,
they can't come in here and arrest people from a case that they've held overseas. And if they could, that would be evidence of a one world government.
well, that's what I thought. I thought, I don't understand, guys. This is not making any sense. And once again, we hit that impasse where we still work together. You know, they still call me. I was running a court case for one of them here before he left. But
Gary Collis.
yeah, but that's my problem. My problem is that I don't understand. That's why I didn't take on the post. I said, look, I got my hands full in Australia. I got no time to be going halfway around the freaking world. I said, I'll support you. I did support them. I'll say that. I supported them. I still support them because at this point, I believe Gary's an honest bloke. He's been at my place a few times. I've met his wife. You know, he's a decent. He struck me as an honest, you know, dinkum Aussie. Prince Matthews, you know, fast talking American. But
well,
that's okay.
He's a Knights Templar, and he's from Switzerland.
Yeah, he's a Solomon's Knights Templar. I said, "Can I have a badge?" Well, to give you a badge, I'll be an honorary Knights Templar. That sounds cool.
I could build you a nice fire to keep your feet warm.
Yes. Anyway, but look, that's my problem. My problem is they're coming at it. That's it. That's as honest as I can say it. If I'm wrong, let me know. But right at this moment, I don't understand what jurisdiction they got. I just told them to their face. I said, I'm sorry, guys. You know, I don't understand how on earth we can waste our time. It's like Rainer Fulner went and had that big bloody, you know, high profile freaking, you know, case that he had against everyone. And I'm thinking, and what of it? Where's your jurisdiction? Where's your charges against Fauci? Where's your charges against Bill Gates? What court have you summoned them to appear in front of? You know, I mean, I don't know. Unless I'm missing something and Dick can set me straight, or you can, but at the moment, that's my view on it.
No, that's there with what you're saying. But the problem that I had with what they were doing is asking people for money for it. Now that court requires $276,000 US for each case.
Yeah, that rubbed me the wrong way too, because down here we're all scraping our bums on the ground, mate. We're all doing it out for free. You know, we look at. I mean, the hours. I mean, anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not big noting myself, but I'm telling you, most of my week I spend on other people's court cases. I don't charge anybody. Ask them. Ask anybody who says Spiros gave you a bill. You know, I mean, I'm not taking any more, but my point is, I didn't charge the people. Yep. And when I hear them saying, "Oh, we need $500 a head" and all this stuff, I'm thinking, look, if you had jurisdiction, I'd give you $500 because they actually said they're going to run the titles one, and I said, "Oh, beauty," because saves me doing it. No, less work for me. I said, "You're going to run the class action for certificates of title," and they said, "Oh, absolutely, it's a big scam. You're all going to lose your land. Your fee's simple. It's all gone. If you don't have a title, you're going to be in a lot of trouble." And I said, "Yeah, I get it." And they said, "No, we'll do it. We'll get a ruling in our court." And then I said, "And then what?"
Spiros, the only ruling that they get is a declaratory judgment.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything to us.
That's right. Exactly. It's just a declaration. Yep, there's the thing.
Yeah, but I told them I can't. I need an international judgment that I can enforce. And I don't know how on earth I'm going to enforce it. Now, they keep telling me she'll be right, mate. But to be frank, I'm not going until they show me how. until they show me how and I can sell it to you. If I can sell it to you, then we'll go. But at this moment, it's just like that PPR thing that you, whatever PPS thing.
The PMA.
I don't understand. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I understood Dick's book first time I fucking read it. I didn't have to read it twice. It just flowed like, oh, fucking hell, this is all correct. This all makes perfect sense. So how come I can understand a bloody book of that sort of level of technology first time I read it? And it was the first time, to be honest. It was a shock for me. It was a big opener, eye-opener, but it's okay. You know, I got smacked in the face with it. But I can't understand the bloody word either of those people are saying. So no, I'm supporting them, just so you know, because I support anyone who's against my enemy. But I don't understand a word they're saying.
Yeah, well, it's asking for the money that I think is actually changes somebody from being a nice man to being a real problem. Because there's people who don't understand, they don't have the level of awareness that you do, that a lot of people do, and they shouldn't have the money to throw away. Like they could be throwing it in other areas. They could put all their money together and get a number of get Dick's book printed, for example. That would help. Now we've got somebody's got a question from the audience. I'll just remind people, if you want to ask a question, thanks very much to everyone for listening. You go to the reactions box at the bottom of the screen. You click on there, you've got an option to raise your hand, and then your hand will appear on the participants list. And then I'll ask you to unmute, usually, but sometimes you've got to be patient. But go ahead, please, Mel, if you could unmute yourself. There you go.
James.
Oh, James. Hey,
Yeah.
James.
Good. Spiro, you go on about jurisdiction, right? I play around in the courts a fair bit. I am a Queensland fisherman. I'm a sovereign fisherman now. Reason why is I hold a petitioner right. I filled it out, done it all the right way, sent it to the Queen. Makes me a subject under the Imperial Crown under the 1890 Partnership Act as an equal shareholder of the Commonwealth. And I need to know who's representing the Imperial Crown in the court today, sir. It all goes pear-shaped for him from there. So the couple of nights before we were going to court, we were listening to you, I think it was on Stop the Rot or whatever, about proclamation and all that stuff, right? So we were already on that track anyway. But when I said to the magistrate that I need to ask a few questions before we start the day, I stated who I was. He let me ask the two questions, and one of them was, I need to know what constitution you're running in the court today, sir. And he says, oh, 18 something. I said, no, sir, that'll be 1867 Queensland Constitution. And I have it in certificate form here for both of yous. And I gave him both a copy, and I said, I need one more question, sir, before the day starts. And he said, what's that? I said, I need you to provide the proclamation with assent of the 1994 Fisheries Act, which you're relying on bringing me in the court today, sir. They gave me subordinate legislation. We sent it to a heap of people at lunch. It said it went past the Legislative Assembly on this day, ... It wasn't a valid document. It was subordinate legislation. It wasn't what I asked for. And then, I go to the second day of trial on the 31st of January. But I've been playing this game for a bit, leading up to a trial that I'm going against Queensland Fisheries. They've destroyed multiple businesses. 45% of Queensland's locked up. But it's what I'm saying in the court that's a major thing. And the first time I mentioned who I was in the court, it was on the 6th of January. And I said, he says, can you state your name? I said, yeah, my name's James Lewis. I hold a petitioner right. It was sent to the Queen and it now sits on the King's Bench. I'm an equal shareholder. I'm an equal shareholder of the Commonwealth under the 1890 Partnership Act. And I need to know who's representing the Imperial Crown, sir, as we're on the land of the Crown. And then he just lost his shit, man, and he raised his hand and he yelled at the two prosecutors. He says, right, we go by common law and the Constitution. And then we set him up in the first day of trial and said, like, you lied, Your Honour. You said on the 6th of January that we'll go by common law and the Constitution. Clearly not. So if you want to go down the UCC route, it's called UCC-1308, fraud and swindle. By the end of the day, the barrister was like shaken. I had 10 people with us, or 12 people, whatever it was. And when I walked into the court, they all rose and they all stayed standing till I asked them to be seated. The police prosecutor hopped straight up and pissed off out the room. And she never come back that day. She lives in that court because I know the lady. And then, yeah, when I walked out, the barrister was shaken, and I think Mel said it was the registrar of the court. Yeah, he stood up and bowed, and then I walked out the door. And the people that were going against me, which is Queensland Fisheries and a few of their agents, yeah, they were just gobsmacked, mate. I put them in the stand. I said, do you swear an oath? Or first I said, so Derek, you read the riot act out on me boat, told me I had the right to remain silent, blah, blah, blah. I said, do you swear an oath? And he said, no. And I says, right, I'll bring it to your attention, mate, that it's 28 years jail for impersonating an officer of the Imperial Crown, and piracy is life. So the way I'm going with this is it's Admiralty law. I'm a captain. I didn't give them permission to board my ship. They don't swear an oath. We gave them all the right paperwork, like we hit them with default notice, agent to principal, principal to agent, notice of prohibition in terms of engagement. All these things have my fingerprints. It's got a fee schedule. And we've charged him in troy ounces of gold. The judge read the documents when I asked him, can you please read out the page where it's got the fee schedule, and it was page 2. And I said, can you please read 3.5, and it says unlawful boarding of Challenger K, 56 troy ounces of gold, unlawful arrest or detainment, 102 troy ounces of gold. It totals 1,050,500, and the judges acknowledge it in the court. It's in envelope 7 of part of the evidence. And yeah, it's a major thing what we've done and the way we've done it, because I've got more authority in this country right now than the Prime Minister or any High Court judge. Reason being is that I'm a subject, and it's my duty to stand up and hold them accountable for their actions, for what they've done to this country.
So did you have a question, James?
No, well, it goes on about the Imperial Proclamation and all this stuff.
Okay,
you don't
look,
need
we've
a
recorded,
private members association.
Everything's recorded.
Yep.
And I think that you're getting pretty good at telling that, because I'm pretty sure that's word for word.
Yeah, that's good.
What
Well, they
you've
have to
told
know this stuff, mate, because nobody's fighting at this angle in the court.
No, but we've got slightly different circumstances as well, because yours actually is Admiralty on a boat.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying, but from the other side of things is the people that are acknowledging you don't have any authority to acknowledge you anyway.
yeah. Well, I asked for a restraining order from the Queensland Fisheries, and he said he didn't have the authority to do that. He told me I had to get a lawyer. I just laughed and walked out.
Yeah, so we're going to, and as I said to you, I acknowledge you for what you're doing, and I'm paying attention to what you're doing. Oh, you were going to send me an email too.
Yeah. I've just been busy tidying the boat up. I've got to go to Brisbane, so I've got the document. Mel's got the email
If
from
you
you.
could send that to me, I'd really appreciate it. And we'll have a look, have a look further. So, and I'll make sure the recording will be there so Spiros can get, he'll be familiar with some of the areas that you're talking about, I'm sure. Now we've got, let me see, we've got JCV. You could unmute yourself, please. Are you still there, Spiros?
Can you hear me?
Hang on a second. Just wait.
Right.
Are you still there, Spiros?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, you keep getting muted for some reason.
I don't know why. It's all acting really.
Yeah, did you want to say something back to James there? Or
He's fighting. Everything he said is my understanding.
Yeah.
That he's right. He's right in everything he said. He'd be one of 3 people in all of Australia who had the balls, the brains, and the wherefore to run that. The only other person on that topic, to give you an idea of, no, just on that topic, because I want to acknowledge him for what he's just said on record for other people to hear. But last week, or it could have been the week before, one of my clients was in court against the police. She sued them. She sued them for $12 million. Do you want to know what they did to her to make her that angry that she sued them for $12 million?
I wouldn't be surprised what they did with what they've been doing, but tell us.
They set foot on her property.
Okay. Yep.
And she sued them. She said, "Who told you could set foot on my property?" And they said, "Well, we're the police." She said, "Didn't you see the sign saying no trespass?" They said, "Yeah, we did." She said, "Get off my property." They took too long to get off her property. It was all recorded. She sued them. They made an offer to settle. She's absolutely stood her ground and said, "How dare you set foot on my property? I have fee simple rights. I own this land, and under fee simple, not even the Crown can set foot on my property without my leave." She was spot on. In court, they confessed to the trespass. They're arguing the 12 million. That is, we're waiting for the ruling. When that comes through, that's bigger than anything I did. This girl by herself, in the most simple way possible, simply said, "I know my rights. No one is allowed to set foot on my property if I own it under fee simple." She did. I double checked it all. I go, "Yep, you own it under fee simple, no doubt about that." She goes, "Good." She goes, and I sued them. And I said, "Well, you're going to win." She goes, "Yeah, I know." And that's just letting you know. A little, when I say little old lady, she's not a little old lady at all. She's just a normal person with kids. She didn't need any special skills. She's not a barrister. She didn't have 20 years of experience. She simply knew that she had a right to quiet enjoyment of her property and could not be harassed by anyone. And that's what trespass is. And just because you wear a badge and you got a bullet and you got a belief doesn't give you a right to break the law. And that's ballsy. But there you go. That's how little they had to do to her to end up in the Supreme Court. It was a 3-day trial. You know, everyone and their dog turned up. I mean, just letting you know, shit going down out there. No, we're waiting. Look, it's a fait accompli. They've confessed. They confessed to the trespass. The judge said there's no argument at all that there's a trespass. They go, "No, we're not even, there's no defense. We trespassed. We didn't have a warrant." That's trespass. She knew it. She had them and she gunned for them. And I'm thinking there are so many people who've been beaten up by the cops, pepper sprayed, locked up, you know, stripped, all this stuff, and they're not suing. And this woman sued on the simplest reason of all: how dare you invade my personal right to quiet enjoyment of my property? So the boat is the same. He's spot on with the maritime law. You're the captain of your boat. You are absolute law. Captain of a boat is absolute law. Absolute law under maritime law. And if he was on his boat, he could have shot him. It would have been okay to do it. James is spot on. So well done that he's doing it. And
the other day, but that didn't work out well for them.
Well, okay, but I'm not suggesting. No, I'm suggesting people should shoot people. But
No.
my point is that that legally everything he's saying is right. I know it's out there because how many people have got boats and all the rest of it. But you don't need a boat. You need if you've got a house, or if you know your rights. If you're sitting in your car, you know you should know. Police haven't got the right to knock on your window and ask you a question. Anybody who thinks they do doesn't understand the law. I said, show me.
Yep.
Show me where in the law it says that they can ask you. There's only three legal reasons a police officer can interfere with you. Either you're in the middle of committing a crime, or you're on your way to a crime, or they're investigating a crime. There's no fourth. There's only three. Those three things. And so if people knew just that, if people understood what that meant, what it means to have human rights, what it means to be a sovereign person in a free country, we'd all be in the courts. Instead, I'm the only one, and James and this woman, three of us. Everyone else is sitting around with, shitting themselves like, and I'm thinking, what is wrong with you?
We've got a few people going, Spiros. We've got a few people going in there challenging things, but I get what you're saying. Like it's like the majority of people are joining in groups where I don't know what the hell they think they're going to achieve because they're not even trying to get a solution. They're just, I don't even know what it is that they think they're going to achieve. Now we've got to,
When they raided our place, they flew out of Canberra. They bloody came from quite a fair way away, all around the place to fucking raid our place. The bastards got all their warrants. Then the silly bastards waited till I'd left home. Then they come in, 10 of the bastards. All their warrants were out of date. We only found that out afterwards because every time my chief cook went to look at them, one of the ex-coppers there that they employed, he just barreled her and shit almighty. When you read the bloody transcript of what this prick was like, I want him hung. But anyway, when I went to court, there was not a, they went through, I got a 5-drawer filing cabinet I had where I do all my research and whatnot. This was on the farm. Then they went right through that. They went through our bedroom. They went through all our books. Not a damn thing. They walked all over the farm. Not a damn thing they could take to court. And when the judge was told that the warrants were out of date, he just said, so fucking what? That's 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, well, I get it. But just so you know, that's a big so what. Because what this woman did, she's not defending. And I think that's the mistake everyone's making. Oh, no, I'm wrong. I retract that. I'm sorry. I retract that. That's not right. What I love about what this lady did is that she exercised her legal right to sue someone who transgressed against her. She didn't care who they were. And what I'm saying to everybody is you don't have to wait for some glorious event, the sky to open up, you know, and a beam of light to shine on your home. It can be the simplest thing in the world. But knowing your rights and then having the courage to stand up for yourself is how you turn back the bully. You never succeed by giving your lunch money to the bully, thinking you can appease the bully. It never worked at my school. Never worked at my school. So the same bully grew up to be a man. That's what my granddad used to say. The kids that you're playing with in the school ground are going to be the adults that you're dealing with in public life. He goes, if they're dickheads at school, they're going to be dickheads when they grow up. They don't turn into butterflies. They're caterpillars all their life. He said, so work out your position in the school because that's going to be your position in real life. And he was right. And so bullies, that's all these people are. These are mafioso. I mean, I used to deal with these people. These are underbelly people. I know these people. I know these tricks. This is extortion. It's extortion. It's bully. It's might is right. None of it is legal. Doesn't stop the mafia from extorting money out of people just because it's illegal. And that's exactly what these criminals are doing. So anyone who says it's criminal, well, it's sort of almost criminal. What it really is it's a bluff and people are falling for it.
Yeah. Okay. Now we've got a hand up from JCV. Could you go ahead, please?
Yes, hi Spiros, hi Stephen. I just liked a bit of advice from Spiros in the fact that I've been trying to get into the High Court for losing my job for not being jabbed, and I've been sending writs into the High Court. I know I'm playing in their playground and playing with a bit of fire at the same time, but I just feel we're using the Constitution to override the Victorian State Health and Wellbeing Act by using the Fair Work Act. Now, I've got to the point where they want a Form 31. Now, have you got much expertise in the Form 31?
I'm in the federal court on wrongful dismissal for COVID bullshit. That's the correct jurisdiction. It's the federal court.
Yes, they want me in the federal court too. They keep telling me I'm in the wrong jurisdiction.
You are, my darling. You're in the wrong one. You go to the federal court. That's where I am. And if it helps you, this is use whatever defense you've got. But if you want to use mine, when I say defense, my attack, it's pretty straightforward. Number one, you will have been sacked using the following words. You disobeyed a lawful directive. That's all you need to know. If they've given you a letter that says the words you were dismissed for disobeying a lawful directive, it doesn't matter what comes after it, your defense will be as follows. Number one, it wasn't a lawful directive because only a general practitioner can issue a medical directive, and getting injected is a medical directive. So unless a general practitioner is your boss, whoever issued you with that directive was breaking the law by acting as a doctor without a license, and you are within your right to ignore any unlawful request. So number one, it's an unlawful request unless your boss is a doctor. Number two, it's an impossible request, and it's a pure defense to a wrongful dismissal under the grounds of failing to obey a lawful request if the request was impossible. Now, the reason why your request was impossible for you to do is because if you turned up to a doctor, rolled up your sleeve and said to the doctor, please inject me, the doctor must ask you, are you here of your own free will? You must answer honestly and say, no, I'm here under coercion, at which point he's not allowed to inject you. In other words, it is impossible for you to be injected. Because it's impossible, the directive is impossible. And you can't be sacked by not complying with an impossible directive. Your two defenses are pure law. Number one, only a doctor can give you a medical directive, so piss off. And number two, you can't give me a directive that's impossible for me to carry out. And because you used coercion, I have to tell the truth when I answer my doctor's questions, because it's a crime to lie to your doctor, and you're not going to commit a crime. So by telling your doctor the truth, your doctor cannot, by his oath and every law I'm aware of, inject you the minute you tell him you're not there of your own free will. You are not allowed to be injected. No doctor, any doctor who injected you, you'd be disbarred immediately. So that's your purest defense. And if you've got a third, by all means use it. But that's the two I'm going in on, because they are points of law. And that's the best way for you to go into a courtroom. Don't argue the merits, simply argue the law and say, I did not disobey a lawful directive. I disobeyed an unlawful directive. And because of the two reasons I've just explained. So that is my case. And so far, we're just waiting for the case now. We've travelled all the way through the interlocutories. We're just waiting for, I think it's March or April that the hearing is on. But that's it. It's the purest defence you can get. Not guilty because didn't do it.
Okay, yeah, because there's the problem with you, if we don't get a successful ruling in the federal court, then I think it's with one judge, then you don't have the appellant rights. Is that correct?
I don't know about that. You got me on a technicality, but it doesn't matter. The place you need to be is the federal court. But if you don't get, look, you are arguing. Okay, I hear what you're saying. I don't know. That's a question that I don't have personal experience on. I'll have to look. But right at the very minute, what I'm submitting to you for your consideration is that I don't know what your defence was going to be. If it's the one of the two I've just mentioned, well, great, just wasted 5 minutes of your time. But if it's not, then by all means, throw my two in as well as your.
Yeah, it was. I'm more going down the 109 that the Fair Work Act overrides the State Health and Wellbeing Act.
It probably does, but what does the Fair Work Act say? Even if it does, the acts can be. If you're arguing a constitutional defence, which is essentially a Commonwealth Act overrides a state act. You win every time because that's in black and white. But but the real
as long as you argue it from the right angle.
Yeah, you got to argue it correctly, and because you can have concurrent. They could come back at you and say, but if they're not in conflict, and
but they are in conflict.
Tell me what the conflict is, since you've raised it now. You got me interested. What's the conflict?
Yeah, well, I actually got it to the Form 31 earlier this year, so I got it on the judge's desk, and the judge has written and denied me access again, and he was quite happy with the arguments. He didn't say there was anything wrong with my arguments. He just said that the form wasn't right and I could lose on appeal, which I thought was just a lot of rubbish anyway. I'm just trying to, especially if I get it right, because if I get my writ out and read the writ the way. So basically, we're going to 76(1) for the Commonwealth Constitution, matter arising under the Constitution of its interpretation pursuant to Section 109, and Section 76(1) again of the Commonwealth Constitution, matters arising under the Constitution and its interpretation of pursuant of Section 51(20) of the Constitution, and Section 76(2) of the Commonwealth Constitution, a law of the Parliament, the Fair Work Act 2009 Commonwealth. They're my basis of the claim.
Yes, but what's the conflict?
The conflict is that my employer relied on the Health and Wellbeing Act pursuant to Section 200 of the Public Health and Wellbeing Act 2008, and that the Fair Work Act actually overrides that. So they really didn't have the
But what's
ability.
the conflict? The override has to be a conflict.
Well, in the Fair Work Act, it says that they can't enforce conscription. They actually can, the government has got to provide the monies for health services, but they cannot enforce conscription.
So who are you actually taking the action against?
My employer,
Your employer.
my former employer.
Yeah. Well, you have to go to the High Court because you're running a constitutional argument. I didn't go that far because I wanted to get it into a courtroom, so I went down to the federal court. I did not run the constitutional argument because the obvious constitutional argument that you've got right now that you're not even playing is that the Health and Wellbeing Act has never received royal assent. It's not an act. It doesn't exist in the first place. It has no proper basis in law. Can't be heard in a court of law. Has no proper basis.
I understand that side of all. I'm just playing their game, basically, playing in their playground with their rules, and I'm trying to hold them accountable for their own rules that I know that are fraudulent anyway.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, by the way. You are doing a correct thing. It's really a strategy. You're really saying, well, this is my strategy, and I'm like, all right, that's a good one. James had a strategy. He's running his. They're all good strategies because it's a court case. Who knows which one's going to win? But if it helps you, which probably doesn't, if you're going in to the Supreme Court or the High Court on a constitutional defence, but you've got more constitutional defences anyway, so you might as well throw in that there's no act upon which they could have relied in the first place. But for the record, if you're suing your boss, the quickest and easiest kill is to prove that the directive he gave you was unlawful, because that's an easy case to win, because he needs to establish it was lawful, and you don't have to establish it was unlawful. He needs to establish it was lawful. How's he going to bloody do that when he's not a doctor? So he had no legal right to do it. And secondly, it was an impossible request. It's an impossible request. You win every time. You might as well tell you to fly to the moon, or you lose your job.
Hi, Janet. I've just got on. I've been out all day. I've got to call you. But,
all right.
Janet and I have been working on the case together, so it is a Section 109 case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, the question I've got also, Spiros, is the federal court, does that affect everybody in Australia, the result?
No,
No.
If you win in any jurisdiction in Australia, it's a precedent. That's all it is. It doesn't mean that the next case, the judge or the jury are going to come to the same conclusion, because that's just not the way cases are held. You don't know what's going to happen on the day, because you get the craziest stuff happening. And I know from personal experience, I have lost cases that the day before I won the very same case, the very next day, different judge, you lose, and then you've got your rights of appeal.
That's not what I'm actually asking.
Lower courts, Janet, lower courts will use the higher courts case law as precedents. But to the best of my knowledge, a federal court's determination only affects the state that federal court is in. The High Court is the only one that is going to.
Because what I was going to explain to Spiros is if I win it in the High Court, I win this in the High Court, then that's precedence for everybody in Australia.
Yes.
Oh, it's a jackpot.
You
win that slot. Yeah, you win that slot for everyone. Yeah.
Yes,
only to a point, because it's a precedent for other circumstances that have got the same conditions.
Correct.
And as soon as you've got a variation in the conditions, it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
very
Yes.
easy to create a variation.
Correct.
That's why there's the variation, Janet, in comparison with your case to the Queensland Rail. You see, there is a variation here. That's why that precedent hasn't carried over. But the bottom line for Janet's case with the Section 109, and I'll say it just so people are aware of it, is if a law of the state is inconsistent with a law of the Commonwealth, the latter shall prevail, and the former, to the extent of the inconsistency, is invalid. So even though we're well aware that, you know, all of these courts are corporations, etc., and so much stuff doesn't have a royal assent, we're going in from different angles. But the purpose of this is that, you know, when the High Court examines the inconsistencies, they look at direct and indirect inconsistencies. So you've got the indirect is something that is contained within the Act, something that is expressly written, where the Commonwealth have clearly evinced their intention. And they have done so in the Fair Work Act at Section 26, where it clearly states that this Act is to the exclusion of any state or territory industrial law. So this is where the difference is in this. And they will be arguing black and blue that the State Health Act is not an industrial law. But at Section 26 of the Fair Work Act, it goes so far as to give the definitions of what would be classed as a state, territory or industrial law. And that is one, for example, that is providing regulations in the workplace relationship, or one that would be providing conditions in the workplace. And it's exactly how the State Health Acts have been used in their practical operation. So
But
these,
Jackie, you've got a situation too where somebody could be instructing somebody to get vaccinated, but they're not actually doing anything wrong because they have a duty to do what they're ordered to do by their superior. So
well, this is
you're
the
sort of
policy
going-
of the company.
So you're sort of going for the wrong
No.
part of it. It doesn't apply because we're talking about as a state.
It's company policy though, Stephen. This is the thing. It's taken from company policy, and the company policy is based on a section of the public health, the public.
What I'm saying is
Health
you've got
Acts.
to take the right entity to court. Like you can't.
Yes.
Because that's what AFL did, isn't it? AFL lawyers.
No, not
with
exactly.
Hazard,
No,
they were going the wrong angle.
no, they were also arguing the wrong acts and the wrong law. Yeah, they were doing that incorrectly. So the other thing is a direct inconsistency, and that is if a state act is altering, impairing or detracting from the operation of a federal act. So these state health acts actually stopped them altogether. They halted the operation of the federal act.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can't work unless you meet this qualification that this state act is putting in place. Get
Okay, now-
vaccinated, provide a certificate.
Okay, so some of the questions that I know that you would have, you're going to have to listen to the video because Spiros has been on for over an hour, and we've covered all the relevant areas
Wonderful.
that we've needed to cover. So what we need to do now, Spiros, what we need, you might not need to, but we do, but we need to get into a conversation perhaps with Jackie, with Dick, with myself, because I run the Zoom meeting. So in there, but where we can talk about some of the things that we're looking at doing. There's also somebody else that I'm dealing with at the moment that I won't introduce their name, that there could be some advantage to working with, and with you too, Jackie. So there's a few, and Dick knows who I'm talking about. He may have guessed who I'm talking about, but I've just got to keep it out of the public for the moment. Most people here would actually know who I'm talking about, but it's a matter of communication. It's about a matter about forming communities of people that are working together and how we can securely communicate. But there's more to it. There's much more to it than that, because we're also getting a number of solid people together. Spiros has been very good in that he's answered every question that I've asked. I've explained to him what I was thinking along the way, so he knows where the questions are coming from. So it's been very good. We've got a lot of clarification through things, which is important. And it's because
It's
of my
imperative
focus.
in these times.
It is, because I've told Spiros this before, once he got connected with Jenny Minas, I was very concerned. Now, there's one thing that Jenny told you, Spiros, which isn't correct. When she said that she had to, what did she say? That Derek wanted her to be the director or whatever?
Look, I'm paraphrasing. Please, it's not. I know it's recorded, so don't quote me as this is in. But I asked her about it because I was very concerned, and I wanted her to know that there's accusations out there, and she said, and she explained to me that she's not affiliated with him anymore. I said, okay, because if you are, that's going to be a problem because, you know, it's causing me grief now. You know, because I had to mop up some of the messes that were caused by anyway. So she said that she's not associated with him anymore, that she had to be a director of a company because he didn't want to do it or couldn't do it. And all of that was, she didn't understand the significance of what she was doing, and she was basically just trusting and believing in everything and just went along for the ride, and then she eventually snapped out of it. And I said, all right, so you're not actively involved at the moment in anything at all. That's what you're telling me? And she said, yes. I said, well, that's okay. I believe you. I have no reason not to. And that's what I relayed to you. I said, look, that's who I know they are. I don't know them any better because, you know, I don't know anybody. I just trust whoever people come to me.
We don't really
and they
know,
say who they
none of
are.
us really know each other. That's the thing, Spiros.
Yeah. No, but I'll give you the
we got to try,
version.
you know.
Yeah.
Jenny came to a few of us to solve a problem. Her problem was Derek Ballog, and she was concerned that he was going to get her. And when she came into the meeting, it was put to her that she was in a company with him, and she denied it. So then it came up that she was in a company with him, and she sort of acknowledged that she was.
Well, she was flat blank denying it until we put the paperwork in front of her,
That's
Stephen.
what I'm
That was the
saying.
thing. Yeah, flat blank denying it. And then we went, hold on a minute. You're a
She denied it
director.
all the way through, denied it. Then we told her that she was a director, and she denied it. And then we put up the paperwork showing that she was a director, and she had nowhere to go. So she lied to us from the very beginning. She lied to us all the way through the meeting. The only time she stopped was when the paper was put up in the meeting to show her. Then she had nowhere to go. And I also challenged her because they were doing a thing with Kevin John Morgan about correct sentence structure, communication, passe, syntax, grammar, where Kevin Morgan claimed he was an ambassador to the International Court, the International Criminal Court or whatever, and that they had over 500 participants who paid $200 each to buy a book. And she denied, and she said, no, that never happened. And I said, don't tell me it didn't happen, because I was in the meeting. And I wasn't there under my own name, but I was in there, and I had to get out of the meeting once they got to where you had to buy the book or you couldn't participate any longer, right? So that was over $100,000. Now, the feeling that we had through the meeting, and you can contradict me if I'm wrong, Jackie, like it's unlike you to voice your opinion, but this tonight you can, is we got the impression that she'd either ripped Derek off and he was coming to get her, or there was something else that was going on. But she was a party to ripping off people for tens of thousands of dollars.
Absolutely. But then she said she'd stop working with him, but somehow he got into the Zoom with the power is ours.
Yeah.
And I caught her out in that, and I said, so you've split up, you're not working with Derek. Why was he on the Zoom? Oh, he came in and I couldn't get him out. And then she's busy working with this Gary Collis, once again trying to rip Australians off, directing them to the Sovereign Court of International Justice, and they're trying to collect up 250K to take them to this bullshit Egyptian court where the judges
we spoke about that. We spoke about that with Spiros, and he was clear about where he is there. But Spiros has confirmed what everybody else says too, that Gary Collis is a very nice man. But it's still wrong what they're doing. It can't bring anybody any satisfaction. It just can't. It can't. That's
what I thought. I said to him, I said, mate, Gary is I said he dined at my house. I met his wife.
I have
you know,
heard that as well, Spiros, that he is a really nice guy, but then
he's sincere. He's sincere, but I didn't
but if
understand.
you get on the wrong
Oh,
side of him, he's an asshole. So
Jackie, let
well,
Spiros go.
probably, yeah, probably. But I didn't understand their jurisdiction. I couldn't get my brain around it. I said, look, I don't understand how you can make a ruling in frickin' Egypt, you know, and then expect. I said, how can I carry it out here? You can't assign it to Australia. I said, you got no jurisdiction. I don't understand. Explain. And they couldn't. And I said, well, then that's it. Until you can explain it to me, I'm not selling it. I said, if I don't buy it myself, how the hell can I sell it to anybody if I don't understand it myself? They're all going to say, well, if Spiros doesn't understand it, well, who's going to understand it? That's my whole job, is to understand this bullshit and guide people. I didn't understand it, and I still don't, and I don't know how. I know they're doing it. Okay, good on them. I said I support you. I just don't understand you, and I'm not coming, and I'm going to stay in Australia, and I'm going to do what we're doing here.
You're not participating with it.
I'm not participating because I don't understand it, and I don't know how anyone could participate if they don't bloody understand what the other person is saying. I mean,
Okay, now let me help you with something further on Spiros. Ultimately, if people are free to make their own mistakes, so like if people want to go and support it, they can do it. There's enough people telling them that it's wrong, and if they still want to go with it, they can go with it. But I'm glad you're not supporting it.
well, that was the thing. That was part of the claim, the first Zoom that I came on, where the claim Derek and Gary were making was that this court can go into any country around the world and enforce their decisions. And I just went, what?
Yeah, I was in that.
That's impossible.
that's what I said.
It's impossible.
I
Okay,
said
so
it to Prince Matthew. I said it to Prince Matthew to his face. I said, I love what you're doing. Don't get me wrong.
Somebody's rung him again.
Oh, damn it. I want to hear what Prince Matthew had to say. Prince Matthew from Egypt. Just, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now we've got somebody else
Me.
as well.
Well, especially since I used to be, you know, I was one of the biggest process serving companies in Victoria. You need jurisdiction. You can't just go and enforce warrants and shit. I said to him, not in our country. I said, I don't know what it's like in America, but I can tell you in Australia, we have we're supposed to have a judiciary, and we have rules and regulations, and unless it's one of my Queen's laws, we can't enforce it. It's unenforceable. I didn't understand. I still don't understand. So, and no one here's explained it any better. So as far as I'm concerned, I think we should say good on them, more power to them, but I can't go any further. I can't go any further than that because for the reasons I'm repeating myself.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so Jackie, I'll leave you unmuted, but we've got a question from Rocket, or if you could go ahead, please, Rocket. Or...
Good evening, all. Spiros, Jackie, Stephen, the rest. Just a question on these new laws that are supposedly coming in for domestic terrorism. For virtually all of us talking about what we're talking about, where do we stand with that as a sovereign citizen? They're saying
they can stick them up their ass because I'm not a sovereign citizen, and they'll
I'm
make up
not
any
either.
shit, they'll make up any shit they want to try and get rid of people that are going to expose the truth. So their legislation's got no more validity than anything else they've done.
So what do we do when we go to court and let them charge us with being a sovereign citizen, then go and prove that we're not a sovereign citizen in court? Is that what we do?
Well, I'm already in a 60-minute story from 13, 14 years ago showing I'm a sovereign citizen, so I'm stuck.
I'm Aboriginal, so I should be standing on the ground, I suppose. But anyhow.
I tell you, you know what you've got to realise? Like, we know that sovereign citizen is an oxymoron, all right? We know it's an oxymoron, but you've got to realise that they have a definition. Yeah. And their definition is somebody who claims to be free, sovereign and independent while taking handouts from the government. And that is an oxymoron, and that's why their definition of sovereign citizen for a lot of people is correct. So if you're receiving the dole and claiming you're a sovereign, you're not.
No, well, like, I'm not. I don't take handouts from the government.
No, I don't either. But that's part of their thing. But they're just going to do it. Look, we know it's all a psyop. They're going to do whatever they can. They want you to shut up, stop doing stuff, just comply, go and get jabbed, march your family in, do that, get a good score on the social credit system and all the rest of it. So they're trying to bluff us, scare us, and they will take a number of us out. What we've got to start doing, in my opinion, is if they come for one, they come for all. Now, that's the Knights Templar. Where we go one, we go all, just for those people who was following Trump and Q. Where we go one, where we go one, we go all is the Three Musketeers, all for one and one for all, and that's the Knights Templar. All right, just for anybody who wants to have a look at that and see if you do want to go where we go one, we go all. But what we need to do, we need to be in support of each other more. And if the police come for somebody, everybody's got to be there. And that's
they're ripping down the Dairy Farmers Stadium, Townsville. They've ripped it down, and they're building a police counterterrorism training
Are you
centre.
talking about where the Queensland shooting was?
No, in Townsville.
Oh, look.
They're doing it everywhere. They're putting in barracks because they're bringing us under, they want to bring us under a dictatorship with military rule. So what they're doing is they're putting in all their posts, all their outposts for their military. But their military are going to be wearing police uniform, whatever they want to wear, it doesn't matter. None of them are valid. And we've really, all the people who could go back to work and the restrictions aren't there for COVID, those people need a slap, right? Because they've stopped, they think it's all right now, and we knew that it's not. They're going to put a big pressure on that area in the public, and then they're going to back off and people go, oh, everything's all right now. It's all good. And it's far from good, far from good.
Actually, Stephen, I just had 2 wins in court against the police.
Yes.
2 discharges, 2 mobile phone charges with video evidence, and 1 public nuisance for no mask. Just got me brief of evidence, got it all together, and they just discharged it. I think they were listening to our Zoom calls.
Yeah. So
they listen to everything.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing that, because I've still got mine on the 6th of February.
Well,
I didn't do 1 bit of paperwork. There you go. Not 1 piece of paperwork.
If I can say about that, going back to that thing about the police presence, one of the reasons why I've been out there campaigning to get our own mayors elected is, as I've said, once a mayor elected by the people of a suburb has 100 title holders, so landlords, registered in his council. So if he can rally up 100 people in the area that own property, so they've got to be on title. If they're landlords on title, and once he's reached 100, he can appoint a sheriff, and the sheriff can have as many deputies as he wants. What that means is, in America, when this happened, they had something called Minutemen. So I'm just copying the past. I'm not inventing anything new. And what happens is this: once a mayor, let's say Mayor Darren from Frankston, once he's got his 100th registered proprietor joining or signing on to his council, I mean, just has to sign on, like a subscription, well, then he can appoint a sheriff. Well, that sheriff can go out and have deputies, like a posse, and he can simply say to 100 burly, strong, strapping young lads, when I call you, come to the address I text you to, you're all deputised sheriffs. So what happens is, when you've got 6 burly corporate coppers rocking up to your house trying to give you grief, you call the mayor calls the sheriff rallies the troops, and 60 thinkum Aussies rock up, all of you deputised, all of you the same power as the police, instantly, and now you're standing there with 60 and they got 6. And that is how you win a war, because that's how you win a street fight, because that's how I did it when we were kids. We didn't even have mobile phones. So we were able, when there was a fight on, you knew, and you made sure you had 1 guy more than they did, because it was always a matter of numbers. And a close ex-Chief Justice friend of mine said, I said, what happens when the courts let me down? What happens when the courts abandon us? He says, well, then you go to plan B. And I go, what's plan B? He said, have a bigger army. I said, oh, right. So I better have a player B. And he goes, you better have a player B because you may not win in the courts. You may get right up there and find out it's completely locked out to you. And I thought, shit and poop. If that happens, what do I do? What do we do when the courts abandon us? And the answer is, have your troops on the ground. We need mayors in every suburb who were elected by the people, who only listen to the people, take no instruction from above. They take instruction from below. And that's the way a community should be. And so that's why I say that, I mean, that's what we need. We need our communities back where everyone rallies together and helps each other out because there's strength in numbers. I mean, it's a simple solution, but what do you want me to say? There's strength in numbers. That's it.
But
There's
you've got to be
strength in numbers.
careful, Spiros, with the language that you use and everything else, because that could be labelled as domestic terrorism.
Well,
And then you
that's
come
what-
out in your numbers, and then they just come around to everyone's house and pick you up one by one.
I know.
You're
I
in
know.
domestic terrorism camp.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem you've got. They've written these bullshit acts. They're not even acts, but they've got the power of might, which is why I say to you, we need our own cops in every suburb so that when these 6 or 7 guys come round thinking they can just bundle up an innocent person and take them off to Guantanamo, we need to have family needs to be there. You know, you couldn't do this in the olden days because we all had cousins and uncles and aunties. I'm like, good luck trying to get any Greek out of his house. You have to ask politely. That's how the cops used to work in our street. You have to ask politely, excuse me, you know, can your son come down to the police station? Otherwise you had 100 Greeks, you know, rocking up saying, what do you think you're doing? Don't, because we all lived in the same suburb. I mean, I understand the game they're playing now. I know what's happening, guys. I'm not naive. I know they're bringing in cops who don't live here. They're bringing in people who aren't even Australian. I know all that shit that they're doing, but I'm still saying the solution is the same. We still need to have real human beings sticking up for each other in our own suburbs. Hopefully it never gets to the point where you got to stand your ground, but otherwise they'll just pick everybody off like flies. It'll just be it'll be a cakewalk.
The bottom line is that they don't want anybody to resist. They don't like anybody to resist. So you either go with them and slowly commit suicide, which has got varying speed rates depending on so many variables. But if we stand against them, they're not going to like it and they're going to try and intimidate us. We do need to have more people, but we also need to be lawful. And that's why standing with the Constitution, you've got the moral basis to stand, and that's what we do. But what I'm talking about, and I have done before, we need to get people from different communities to combine at certain times, particularly if someone's got to go to court. And there's a problem if we can get more people together and get to a point where we're educating people around the courthouses and around the councils. We've got signs, we've got excerpts from the work that Dick has done. That's pure, that's just fact, where you just got fact, and you're standing there with a big sign where we're starting to educate people. Part of the people we're trying to educate is actually some of the cops, like the ones who can read. And then you've got some of the people who could work in the court system. So they start becoming more aware, asking questions. How many times when you do something in court that's outside of their system, don't you realise that sometimes the magistrates and judges, what they're really annoyed with is what their staff is hearing? They don't want to have that sort of stuff floating amongst the people that are working at the lower levels for them either. So we do need the community side, and the only way that they're not going to come, or Jackie, like for you, for me, for a number of people, it's already too late. As far as they're going to come, like, you know, I don't think you're going to. I don't think you're going to be. I don't think you're going to be banking your social credit score like on the.
I'm in the minus.
Yeah.
I'm well and truly in the minus. But look, that's why I make sure I always say peacefully and lawfully.
Exactly.
You know, and through the courts, etc. So, yeah.
Well, the courts, I can't agree with the courts because they're
not. I know that, Stephen.
Pirates.
Me too. I'm like this.
Yeah. So, Chris, speak up, mate.
We need to have our own media, whether it's just with our cameras passing them on as much as possible, but also linking together so that someone can push one button and then everyone can come at once to wherever need be.
Yep.
The other thing is we've already had someone try to do this and everyone just canned her and laughed at her. Okay, we had Teresa doing this and she had a full crew of people and now they've all gone. She had a full crew of people. She was the only chick, as you, Jackie, was able to fucking speak the Constitution from your brain. Okay? Now, everyone has bagged this woman, and we should have followed her and helped her when everyone just laughed at her.
Well,
Now,
Therese Van Lyshout.
same spot that she was in and trying to do, and had a massive amount of people going for the citizen arrest.
Yeah, but she went too extreme, Chris.
She went a little bit too extreme, Chris. That's the problem. She
really don't give a shit where she went. She was still pulling in a crowd of people to understand.
She pulled in a crowd of people, but when she started...
Let me finish. When she stood up there and said, "I'm the Governor General," it was more of a, like, no one else was doing anything. So she said, "Rightio, all you pigs, I'm the Governor General." I don't think she put it in. Like, I go and see her. I was the only fucking person in Australia that stood up for her when she got locked up.
good on you, Chris.
Okay, I was the only fucking person that stood up for this woman. So fuck you all. Okay? She had it in a nutshell, and we fucking laughed at her.
No,
I didn't laugh at
I
her.
didn't laugh at her, mate. I was working with the group of people that were around her and working with the fella that was going to be the police commissioner, and went into a lot of work to do damage control in there.
We were on the right path.
We were on the right path, but as soon as you say to stand up and shoot people, you draw in attention that you can't deal with.
So passionate. They are shooting us.
I understand what you're saying, but we lost our police commissioner because of what she said. He quit on that night.
Well, then we needed to represent. These people are trolls. They come in and fucking destroy us every single fucking time.
No, he wasn't a troll.
Mate, we are infiltrated. Anything that we do that is
I know that we're infiltrated, Chris, but
is destroyed.
yeah, but the police commissioner that she was putting up, he wasn't a troll. I spoke with him. I spoke with the people around, but she scared the hell out of him with what she was saying.
It doesn't matter. I see her right now, man, and she's sane as fuck. Okay,
Yeah,
she is a sane person.
yeah.
I
I'm
still
talking
see
about
her.
certain things that she said. There's things that she said at the time that caused a real problem, Chris.
Then we need to follow what she's done and take it over. Like, she's not going to come back, man. She's had enough. She's had enough. We need to take over what she was doing and fucking rise it up again. In the right way.
In the right way.
Correct.
In the right way.
It's like me standing here for the past 2 years, and the freedom movement haven't let me speak once in regards to fucking geoengineering. If I was able to speak at these places for 2 years ago, you know what? The fucking Australia would know what geoengineering is all about. No
Hey,
one
I can't speak either at these rallies. Don't worry.
Well, I'm like you, Jackie.
Are in there.
Your constitution's in your head. Whether engineering is fucking, I've been doing it for nearly fucking 20 years. And now I'm able to actually counteract what they're fucking doing with a team of people. Okay? I've got my own devices made by Wilhelm Reich, Trevor James Constable, and we are actually fucking destroying their storms as they come into Australia. Wherever they fucking try to make a storm, I've got fucking 20 people that are knocking the fucking shit out of it.
Where are you, Chris? What area?
South Australia.
I knew you were in South Australia.
Right.
They're hammering us here in Victoria.
If you want to see where Chris is, just download the Windy app.
Don't need to do that. You need eight maps. You know, I direct easy 25 fucking people daily on where to stop storms.
How do I stop them?
I'm up till 3 o'clock watching the fucking maps, and by 6 a.m. I wake up after 3 hours, and I'll give everyone a direction to point in to stop a fucking storm.
Interesting.
It's real, Jackie.
Yeah.
It's
Hey,
real.
I know. I'm one that's playing video.
It still boggles my mind today what I can do. It boggles my mind what I do. But I'm
You've frozen, Chris. You just froze for a bit there, Chris.
What I said was, I'm sitting here in silence doing this.
Yes.
I don't go out, go give me donations, so on fucking this and that. I'm helping the animals, the people, the fucking livelihoods of people all over Australia, and I don't ask the fuck all. Nothing. Absolutely jack shit. So why all you people are doing that? I'm doing what I'm doing silently for nothing.
Yeah.
I'm teaching other people now what's in my brain, how to work out maps. I'm teaching people what I do. So when they do take me out, people can continue doing what I've been doing for the past 6-7 years on my own.
Yeah.
What's your site, Chris?
I have no sight. I am not seen.
So how do you teach people? They've got to come to you.
I'll contact you, Jackie, for other information in there. I've got a couple
There's
of groups.
Yeah. Now on the
Do not go-
communication side, Chris, we've got a secure communication platform
Yep.
that can be operated through rotary phone, UHF, VHF, mobile phone, laptop, PC.
I've got it ready. Put all that shit here. I've got HR. I've got a fucking license, HF license.
Yeah, no, but we've got secure communication that can't be eavesdropped.
Yep. Let's get it to there. I've got 2 groups: the New Zealand group, a South Australian group, and we're fucking knocking into shit. We're knocking onto shit.
Well, we'll get you some secure communication. We're just sorting that out.
We have to go back to what Theresa was doing, start it again, and follow it through properly. All right. No one say they want to kill whatever, but what she brought to the table was absolutely astounding, because it's part of the Constitution in regards to citizens' arrest.
Yeah, I understand, but there's also a process for a Governor General, which if you're going to be compliant with the Constitution, that has to be followed as well. So
let's try and work out how we follow it.
Well, that's what we do.
Yeah, well, that's what we should be doing.
We are.
Honestly, I'm so abrupt. I've had enough.
Yeah, no, we've all had enough of it. That's why Dick's been on here twice a week. When did we start, Dick? Was it January or February?
Somewhere around that.
Yeah, then apart from that, the decades beforehand where you've been going through everything. Now,
For sure. But for the past 7 years, I've been doing something silently, helping Australia and its people.
Yeah.
Okay, silently.
Yeah. I've been aware that, Chris. That's why I just mentioned to people, if they download Windy and have a look, they might actually find out where you are from looking at the weather.
Just watch the maps. If you like, I watch them daily, easy 4 hours a day. I just sit here, mate. Like even when this is talking, I'm looking at my maps.
Yeah.
I've got 8 maps up all day long.
Yeah.
And I watch every single bloody map to see where they start shit, stop shit. I can watch them starting lows, highs. I know exactly what they're doing, and I try to counteract it every time, every day, every day.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No problems.
Now, Paulie, I heard a rumor that you've got your sound worked out.
Stephen, can you hear me?
So if you've got your stuff working, if you could start talking, Paulie, so that we can see how it works.
Okay, you should be able to hear me, Stephen.
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
You're pulling my leg again. I sent you a picture of it, $7, and it solved my laptop problem.
Awesome.
Okay, look, I'm going to keep this really quick. Given that Spiros is here, and given that there's some history between yourself, Dick Yardley, and Spiros, my pertinent question...
When did you come into the meeting, Paulie?
Oh, look, I've been in and out, We had a dinner party here, so I kept disappearing.
Yeah, so you probably would have missed everything that we've talked about. So anyway.
No, I caught a heap of what you were saying to Spiros early on.
Yep.
And then I disappeared and had dinner and then came back.
Okay, you could carry on with your thought. Okay,
so given, Spiros, this is kind of to you and Dick at the same time. Given that Dick's got these documents, which I've been looking through to try and make some sense to them and put them into a format which would effectively silence any court by removing its jurisdiction. And I'm trying to put the paperwork that Stephen's put up of Dick Yardley's to try and put it into effectively a PAP. Now, I'm not sure you'll have heard about private administrative processes, Spiros, but in my opinion, they're the exact copy of what a court case
Spiros is
does.
no longer here.
Oh, bugger. I left my run too late. Oh, well. Never mind. Never mind. Thanks for that, Stephen.
No, it's
I'll
all right.
keep-
He's probably just fallen off. Hang on, that could be him back. Let me have a look. No, it's not.
It's all right. I'll leave it till another time. Now that I know I've got an audio system that
No, Spiros is
works,
here. Oh, bugger.
Spiros is back.
Yeah, or is he? Yeah.
Maybe
He's
not.
jumping around. What's going on here?
Okay, look, I'll
No,
slide it to an.
Spiros is here. I'm just, every time I go to press on the button, this bloody thing jumps.
He's probably just left it unattended like
No.
I did before.
You there, Spiros?
Yeah, I am. I just had a hailstorm blow in and it disconnected me for a minute. So,
Oh, okay.
so whoever's controlling the weather there, can you tell him to redirect the bloody hailstorm away from me? I'm having enough trouble getting reception without a friggin' hailstorm. But anyway.
Okay, so Paulie, so you've got
Okay,
to get around to get to the point of what you're saying.
Yep. Spiros, I'm wondering if you've looked at the material Dick Yardley has put up over the time he's done it and examined it from the point of view of using it to negate the jurisdiction of any court and any alleged government entity like police or like councils. I'm trying to come up with a system that will include a series of notices to any alleged judicial authority which eliminates its jurisdiction. And the easiest example is to use a comment that Darren Dixon made when he was on one of these Zooms several months ago, where he said in a court, the first thing he does is present himself in a position of special appearance to challenge jurisdiction. And in the court, in the state of Victoria, he asks, does the court recognise the state of Victoria? Now, there's two, as I see it, there's two or three possible answers. The magistrate can lie and say yes, meaning the state of Victoria in all caps, or it can, or the magistrate can answer yes, this court recognises the state of Victoria, and lie. And so effectively that process of moving your opponent, being the magistrate or the judicial member, into a position where he's checkmated, eliminates the court's jurisdiction. Yeah, I'm just interested to know if you've looked at Dick's material with that perspective.
I have. Darren is senior to me on all of these issues. I defer to him. His knowledge is superior to mine. Indeed, the original relationship with Darren and I is that I offered myself to Darren as the hitman under his guidance. So I said, mate, you show me where to sue and I'll sue. And that was my attitude. I didn't give a shit. I just wanted to get into a courtroom and sue somebody because talk is cheap and I just can't be stuffed. I'd just rather sue them. But just so we know my views on Darren, I defer to him. That means if we have an argument, he wins. So I defer to him. I'm like, mate, I learn every time he talks. It's that sort of so if he was on and he told you guys stuff, then you're very fortunate, because the stuff that he's ahead of me. Actually, he's ahead of me. I'm fighting cases, but I came in without any of his knowledge. I mean, I did it straight out of bravado. I had no brains at all. I was just I got my brains after I issued proceedings, not the other way around, you know, like, and a lot of my brains that I got from him. I got from him and his guidance, because there are guys out there who just have a better edge at certain angles, and we've got to learn from everyone. And at the moment, I hang on everything he says. So if he says to me, I've just run a case and this is what's happened, man, I listen like a thief. You know, I pay attention to every word he says, because I'm thinking, right, yep, and you're away for 3 days, excellent, your house will be available for robbing. You know, that's how I listen. I shut up and pay attention. It sounds impossible that I shut up, but there are a few guys that shut me up. One of them is him. If he talks, I listen and take notes, because it's all valuable weaponry. You know, so I'm rapt that he's on. I'm rapt that he's on our side. You know, guys like that are, you know, they're worth their weight in gold.
Spiros, with Darren, I'd agree with what you've said, and I've said if I had to go to court and I could have Darren represent me, that would just be great. He'd be what I would want, particularly dealing in the fiction system. But
and Darren and Daryl, they're all superior. They're all like my.
But it's important. It's important that you realise there's some areas where Darren prefers to deal in the fiction rather than disqualifying it by utilising the Constitution. So there's some areas where we've got a difference of opinion, and where that difference is, through Dick's research, we've got the evidence for what we say. And the difference in opinion Darren has is because he believes there's a document that would counter what we have, but he's yet to find it. And I've suggested to him that we should go forward on the evidence we do have that disqualifies them, rather than thinking that they have evidence that gives them the authority, but they're not releasing it. So, you know, I could talk to you about the specific areas, but it's an interesting point. Like, for example, he doesn't agree that the Governor General is not valid, right back from 1960. So he believes that there would be letters patent in place authorising the use of the Great Seal of the Commonwealth of Australia instead of the signet.
Well, I've spoken to him about that, and that's not what I think he may have come round on that, because I had lunch with him 2 weeks ago. No, I lose track of time. It could have been 3 weeks ago. He and Daryl and Ross and I, we all got together because I'm trying to form a team, you know, because I'm like, dude, guys, we're all talented. We're not all, you know, we all have our weak spots, but as a team, we're a great band. I said, why don't we get a litigation department that's made up of all of us, instead of me just being the, you know, all of us being separate. So believe it or not, we sort of had I think we've come to an agreement that we're going to try and work together on shit. So that might be the right thing to do, is that we all just have to create a brain trust of litigators. And but I agree with you. Look, we've all got different strengths. I mean, end of story. That's normal. That's normal in every.
I know it is. Look, mate, and I've had Darren has rung me, and we've spoken for an hour and a half, 2 hours at a time. And I really appreciate every word that comes out of his mouth. And we also talk about the things even we disagree on. So it's not a problem, because I think he's going the right sort of direction. But yes. I know that he handles himself very well in their fiction system.
Yes.
So, and whereas I just want the whole thing gone.
Yes. Well, the answer to the question was yes. I study everything they teach, whether it's Dick stuff or Darren. It doesn't matter. Any knowledge is good knowledge, because at the moment I feel naked and dumb. So I love everything. I love everything they say, and I use it, you know, because that's, you know, what's the point of knowledge if you don't use it? So I use it, and that's why I said to you, 2023, I'm class actions. That's what I'm doing. I'm good at civil litigation. I didn't do criminal, so I'm not going to go there, even though I reckon I got them all on charge and summonses. They've all committed offences. I just don't have the experience. So I'm waiting for someone to join the team that might have had some, some prosecuting experience. Mine were all civil cases. And so, I'm a paper pusher. I'm a civil case guy. So I'm going to sue class actions, sue for money. That's the technique I'm going to use. And I reckon I'm confident I'll succeed. Darren's going to run to his strengths. We're all going to play to our strengths. That just makes sense. We're all going to play to our strengths. There's no point in me trying to be a ruck. I'm not tall enough, and so on. We all have, it's a footy team and we've all got our strengths. Jackie, we all have. I mean, we all know each other and we all know we've got our strengths, and I defer to everyone. And like, Jack's great at rallying people. I'm not. So if anyone was going to rally 1,000 people, that'd be Jack. It's not going to be me, because it's not my personality. It's not what I do. So it's not my shtick. And that's what I think. I think we form a band. And then I reckon we might make some hit records. If we form a band, we're all good soloists, but...
Well, we just need it's a multi-pronged spear. That's as long as we're heading in the same direction, we've got the same enemy.
Yeah,
and
same
we
enemy.
hit them from every angle that we can.
I can. And I reckon all support each other. Worst thing we can ever do is diss each other. And even if we're wrong, it's still not right to diss each other. We should always speak kindly of each other, because we're all busting a bloody gut and we're doing it for free. I mean, no one's paying Jack, no one's paying me, no one's paying Darren. I mean, who's getting a paycheck, and why aren't they sharing it with all of us?
Yeah, no, that's what we've got to. That's what we have to establish. As I say, there are some grey areas, so we've got to be careful who we do mix with, because you've got the old sayings like birds of a feather flock together, all that sort of thing. And because I've been in this environment for a long time, there's a lot of people that I'm aware of, and a lot of them don't even know that I know them. So I've just from people coming into the meetings that I've been running, there's been a number of people that have been exposed. But because of some of those people, I also know other people who've had to leave the country because those people have brought the cops in on them. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on. So that's why I'm very, what is it? It's sort of like a bit like a gatekeeper, because with all this knowledge that's going around, I don't consider that I have superior knowledge to anybody. But what I've probably got a broader knowledge, but not as deep as not as deep as you, not as deep as Dick's, not as deep as Darren. But I can participate in conversations with everybody. That's no problem. Even with what Chris is talking about, and with the work that he does on the weather. So he's talking about Trevor Constable, and I had a friend show me videos about Trevor Constable over 20 years, about 20 years ago, because of VHS tape, which I think I've still got somewhere. Anyway, so I knew what he was when he was talking about certain things, and with the weather and Wilhelm Reich, all this sort of stuff. So a broad knowledge. But Chris is working for the people, trying to do what he can from where he is, and it all blends in. We need everybody in the different fronts. We've got Nina in here, and she's doing a lot of work on the health side of things, looking after the community, doing what she can. So we can't have everybody just doing the same thing, because we get nowhere. We might even need to we might even need somebody who can provide a feed of fish. What do you reckon, James?
Yeah, I just want to say to what Chris was saying before, right? All of us have gone into bat for a common cause, right? And a lot of the times the people are doing they're having confrontations with police or whoever, right? And then the backup is not there, what he's saying. Like here in Queensland, it's a little bit different. Like I've been to a few court cases and they met me at the court. I didn't even know these people, and there was 10 people just from a common law group, and they just went there to be there as witnesses, all that stuff. But the backup's not there. We need a core group of people, and like there's lots of them, that are switched on with the law And there's so much paperwork out there to help people fight their cases. A little bit of thing like I go on a group, it's on 6 nights a week, and they just fight with, like, the group works so close together. Yeah, like they're pretty well on top of the game. And there's, once you go into the courts for the battle, we need key people in there to fight the battle, right? And what Spiro's saying is, like Dick, there's heaps of people with the knowledge and the documents, and then you need a heap of people that are switched on with the stuff to go in the courts and help these people. And then you need guys with Spiro, so when it gets to the next level, he's going to take over and thingy. You've got to all work in schedule, like in link for this common cause, and the backup has to be there. Like me and Mel, we got a local group together, and we invited a couple of guests, and they told them all about the corruption in Queensland and all that. The presentation went for about 5 hours. They had TVs to show the people the documents and all that stuff, and it went nowhere. There's so much egos and stuff in the common law groups. Yeah, like I know one fella, like Mike Holt, he's destroyed this, like the Sunshine Coast and around where I live. So many people are on the wrong direction, and a lot of people got burnt. Yeah, I know a couple of people that rang him like multiple times to say, I'm just about to go to court, I need help or whatever, and there was no help there. And it's no use going into bat for a common cause when there's no help there. So yeah, we've got to get a core group of people like Mona, Mel, all them people, Rocket, Polo, all of yous, like you're so good at what you do, and they attack the problems from all different angles, grammar, the whole lot. And it's a pretty good group. I got me as far as where I am now. And like, I'm just a fisherman, mate. I don't read shit. And they just said, watch this, do this, say this, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I just got a bit more front to go in the court and put it on them. Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got to, yeah, got to all come together and all as a common cause, because this has been going on for years, man, and it just goes round and round in circles and nothing. There's not a common goal at the end.
Now,
Well,
I think that we're starting to get a sharper point now. We're getting the people that are solid together. So we sort of working through the others, because there's too many people just interested in going rah, rah, rah and getting people whipped up into a frenzy to go nowhere.
You got to have the facts and the documents to prove the fact.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. So I've got 3 more hands up, so we might move through. And I see, Chris, you were there earlier, then you fell off and then you're going back on again. So I'll ask you to unmute.
Yeah, just to what Jamie was saying there about having people turn up to court. The South Australian CLC was ruined. I think Peter's still in jail. So we did have the numbers here. We had 3,000 to 5,000
I spoke to Nick a while ago. Sorry, I spoke to Nick a while ago. As far as I know, he's still in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Peter, not Nick. Peter. Peter's still in jail.
But Nick was. Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is, Nick was the bloke I used to talk to while Peter was in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Nick was used to be sort of keeping me in touch with it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't even get messages from Nick or spoken to from Nick. It's completely gone to ruin, where we had masses of people. We had between 3,000 and 5,000 people. So at any one given time, we could have 30 people turn up to courts, police stations. Even the DCP, we had numbers going to the DCP in groups, like massive. And this is where, if Donna was here, she'd be telling you the same thing. We had masses of people. And now it's all gone. It's a disgrace. It's actually, I feel it's an actual, it's evil. It's evil what's happened to break up so many people.
Do you know why it fell apart, Chris? Do you have a thought as to why?
Pardon?
Do you have a thought as to why it fell apart?
Well, the police didn't like it. The police and the courts didn't like what he was putting in.
I know with Peter, I know, but I meant as far as all those 3,000 to 4,000 people.
Yeah, and that's where Nick came into it. Nick was sort of his proofreader on the documents that he was using. He even went to court about the pounds and coins, you know, the pounds that they should be paid in now. They couldn't stand him. So Peter also went in a bit of a wrong way by yelling at the police officers, telling they're going to draw his gun out, you know, and what are you going to do if I take your gun? And he sort of went overboard in that respect. But, you know,
yeah. But why do you think the 3,000 or 4,000 people don't associate with anyone anymore?
Because the police actually shut it down. They came in SWAT teams. All right, they had about 20 people, maybe a little bit more, with machine guns to their head. They were all rounded up, and it was to be closed down. And the problem I think that became was because they became a political party, which we don't want to be a political party, because I ain't waiting 4 more years.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I'll say. But yeah, Mel and that we
spent
had
a week down there with Peter.
It was massive. It was massive, and it's gone.
Yeah. Dick was just saying he had a week down there with Peter.
Yep. Yeah, I was there. I was there. You know, I was there the whole time. I would travel 600 kilometers to go there for weekends for the meetings. Every week, like, I was there the whole time. And no one speaks to each other now. And I was told also in regards to Teresa, is not to help because the AFP will come. And they rang me up about it. I didn't give a shit. I said, you people, you lost it, because here's a single woman being put in jail. No one said a word about her. Everyone was too scared the AFP would come. Well, they rang me up. I fucking drilled them. I drilled the mothers. They actually hung up on me because I said, I just said so much. Pedophilia, the whole fucking deal. And they hung up on me.
Yeah.
And then I continued to look after Teresa as best I could.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Jean, you could go ahead. And
Hi, good evening.
People, we're up to 10:19. We probably won't go.
Oh, well, I won't talk too long.
No, it's all right. It's not to hurry you up. It's not to hurry you up.
I know you though, darling. The outcome of it all is that it's been a wonderful evening. Spiros, you got a lot to say and you put in a lot of it needs to go into action. How many cases have you won in the last 12 months?
I think he's got knocked out again.
Bugger. Okay, let's go back to why I'm really here. There's a lot of people here tonight, Steve. You've done a great job of rounding these wonderful people up. But I am very, very concerned. I got a message from some people I know in the government. Things are going to change on the 31st of the month, January. Big time.
31st of January, not December, right?
No, we're going to have a little new year. But I'm really concerned about the situation. You've been telling us for a long time, you have knowledge of us being off the grid. Now, we can't go through a service provider because the police and everyone else in the government's got full control over every aspect of it.
Yep.
So we need to have something that's off the grid where we can all communicate and we can all spill out, you know, and make sure that we get our points across of what we can contribute. And be a free-speaking person, because we certainly can't hear. You've got 40 or 39 at the moment people here. They'll be very hesitant about talking about what they really want to share with us because we don't have privacy. So the outcome of it all is we really got to think where we're going with that. I've spoke to a couple of service providers, as you know, I'm involved with that. And, you know, we don't know and how it can be possibly done with so many people be totally off the grid without being followed through. People.
Well, we do have something where we can do that, but what it comes down to that it's still being worked on is the onboarding process to make sure that only the people that you would want to be involved with are connected.
Oh, well, the thing is, if we don't start coming together real soon, we're going to be put in those little cages they're talking about, putting us, you know, us people for standing up for our own individual independence.
Yeah.
So, you know, we can sit and talk all night until we get something like that going. Otherwise, we'll get out in the
I'm
street.
confident that it's going ahead with the people that are organising it. I'm just a fringe dweller on it. Like I'm involved, but
I
not
respect what you're saying, but
not
you
in the
know,
production of it. But there's just a few logistics that are to be worked out. But a lot of good people have got together.
yeah, how many people and how long?
Well, the exact numbers I don't know, but the platform is already there. Then it's a matter of, all right, I'll tell you. For what it's worth, and I didn't think it was needed, somebody that we know, most of us know, was going to be doing a PMA for the system. And to be frank, it was against my advice, and now it's all gone pear-shaped. So somebody's been paid the sum of $5,000 to set up the rules of the association, if you like a PMA, which we don't need. And they've basically pocketed the money and haven't done the work.
Well, that can't be. We can sort that out if it has to be a must. But because we need to do this, I don't care. Really, I can pull out. I'm too bloody old, Steve. Right? I've got a chronic illness that's going to kill me off. But I'd love dearly to see this go through. I'd love to be with you.
It's going through. It's just a matter of, you've got people that were in a corporate space that became aware of everything when, as soon as COVID hit, it basically they went, this is all crap. And they've had to have an accelerated learning curve because they were very successful in the corporate side of things. But they're real people, they're genuine people. And the number of people that they've come into contact with, some of whom aren't honourable, but they didn't know. Now what they're finding is, to put it frank, the advice that I've been giving them about certain people has turned out to be correct over time. Now, hopefully we're going to be able to just move forward without having the people who are misdirecting and time wasters and that sort of thing. So as soon as we've got the system set up and it's in a way that people are happy to participate with, because one of the things is, Jean, if you're going to be involved in a private communication system, what sort of measures would you want taken to secure your privacy?
I'd be asking the expert what would be the best thing to do for an old girl like me that can protect me, but I can still have interaction with the people I fully believe that are trying to save my country and protect all the children.
But how do we identify them? What sort of?
Well, there are security people that know the internet very well, and they also know off-grid very well. And they're normally people that are very private about their career choice.
Yeah,
but I would be willing to go looking for it as well.
When somebody wants to join, what steps do they need to go through to be compliant with the system as far as security is concerned?
Well, of course, you're going to have to have a five-way checkpoint, aren't you? Five-way checkpoint.
That's the thing, you see, that's part of the thing as well, that we're putting through, because a lot of the people, like even in this room, are very protective of their privacy and their identification, if you like. But at some point we have to be able to, you can never guarantee, but we've got to take every step that we can to make sure that what people say they are is who they are.
Correct. That's what I'm concerned about, what we're doing, sitting here talking our little hearts out.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Out. Well, you should be.
I've never been worried about it.
Well, you might, but other people would, especially the ladies who are living on their own.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand. But like I said, I was in CBS Sovereign Hit piece on 60 Minutes like 13, 14 years ago, because I got labelled as a sovereign citizen as an example. And the worst thing about that 60 Minutes story was that it started off with a guy called Lofton or what his name was, and him and his son shot dead 4 state troopers. And then I got included as an example of one of them.
Oh, Steve, look, I've had a gun held up to me, darling. I was in business and robbed. I had the security officer killed in front of me. I know all about this stuff, right? But the outcome of it was these people here are like my family now. Yeah. And I want to see them get through. I really do get through this.
Yep. No, we're getting through. We win. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it.
I know.
We'll be there. I'm actually having conversation about this tomorrow and about the system that's needed to replace the one that didn't happen. As far as it's really just rules of association, just so that there's people are basically joined together for a common goal with a contract Yeah, but it's not a contract. You know what I mean, Ruth?
No, I do know. I do know. Yeah.
You got to
Okay,
have
I'll shut
rules
my
of-
mouth because I'm pretty pissed off because I really been asking for this for months, and I'm just going, wait a minute, what if these people have got to be free within their group? It's no different than having a family. You've got to hold the gossip together, right? You've got to
Yeah.
keep them mouth shut. So, you know, I'll leave it with you. I've had my
Okay.
say. I apologise if I'm too outspoken as usual, but I have been.
Oh, the language, Jean. I'm surprised people haven't left.
Hmm?
But the language you've been using, I'm surprised people haven't left.
Have I been naughty?
Oh, terrible, terrible.
Oh,
That's all right.
oh,
We'll use you as an example.
Thank
So-
you. guys. All the
Thanks,
best.
Jean.
Bye.
You're good. Thank you very much. Spanner. Go ahead.
Yeah, g'day people. How are you? It's been a very enjoyable meeting tonight and lots of information. The thing is what is a principle, moral, ethical standards lawfully in a society that that the ones that are running the country haven't got.
Correct.
And the thing is you know, the questions, the three questions that come up is you know, a lot of people don't comprehend it, but what do we do? Where are we going? And what's the end goal? And that end goal is the solution. Until everybody starts working together and bringing everyone back in together Australia-wide, not just in states, Australia-wide, and working together on one simple goal, and that's to bring the lawful law back into Australia. And the thing is these criminals have been running Australia too fucking long, and too many people and kids have been hurt out of the whole lot.
Yep.
And the whole situation with egos have got to get out of it. They can go to hell, mate, because it's the egos that have been pulling little groups and big groups apart all the way through it. And there's a lot of them making money out of it from the education through other people like Harry, like Dares, yourself, and everyone, and using that information to make dollars. This has got to stop. And this is where we've got to come together as one. Because if we don't, it's going to go down the gurgler. And that's it, full stop. You know, Spiros has been out there working his ass off every day, as I know, and he's put a solution forward to a lot of people, but there's a lot of nigglers on the outside that, you know, is saying, oh yeah, but this, that, and the other. But they never even thought about it. They don't even go into the information and find out where this is going. And they don't even educate themselves by doing research. It's time people got off their ass and done their own research and found out where things have been going wrong and what the history has been done to bring us to this point now.
I'll tell you one thing, Spanner, and I just looked at it, and I might be going off, but somebody just put a link in for, what is it? The Commonwealth of Australia State Assemblies, right? The first thing I see, I just had a real quick look while you're talking and listening to what you're saying. We don't have to prove anything to a criminal about what we are.
That's exactly right.
There's absolutely no point in filling out paperwork saying, like, oh, I've got the DNA and it's this, that, and the other. They are criminals. You're going to hold up a piece of paper and go, oh, you can't touch me because I've defined myself as this and I've verified that I'm a living man or a living woman. And well, this is all just the bullshit that goes on. Those people are not working toward a solution. They're trying to work out how to dance with the devil. I'm not interested in dancing with the devil. We've got to stop the music, throw the devil out.
That's
right?
exactly right.
So this is the sort of thing that we've got to get people away from. If you're going to go with the Constitution, our Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1901 as proclaimed and gazetted, you don't need all that crap. That's the same as somebody registering their PMA and then getting WIPO as a part of the United Nations to confirm that it exists. Look, people, it's what you're saying, Spanner. Like, people don't know what they're doing. And they go off doing all this stuff, and someone says, oh, if you do all this, they can't touch her, and you've got this and you've got that. No, you haven't. Just get rid
No.
of the criminals.
That's
Just
right.
get rid of them, and you stand with your constitution. You don't need to prove to an attacker that they don't have the right to attack you. They don't give a stuff. They do not care about what you've got on a piece of paper. We've got the numbers that we need to get, and what you're talking about, Spanner, and joining the states, and that's right. But ultimately, we have to make the difference where we live. We have to take our towns back. We have to take our suburbs back. There's the councils are implementing a lot of this stuff. Like when you're looking at all your surveillance equipment and all that sort of stuff that's going through, and then you've got the courthouses doing their damage. Those magistrates and what that all needs to be held to account. People need to be educated around the place. At the moment, I talk about different communities coming together at certain times because, like in the community we don't have enough people that are up to speed to get together and do it.
We keep going around in circles, Steve. We keep going around in circles, and that's what the problem is each state has got to have, even if it's a couple of representatives go to one meeting and put their side forward to find that solution, to be able to help them be able to negotiate, or not negotiate, but to find a solution to help each state out.
Well, what do you think about the fact that we need to take over our council?
I believe, my opinion is what Spiros has put forward about the councils is a great idea, because the thing is, it's giving the power back to the people. Now, like, you think about it. You've got a chairperson. You've got a truly qualified treasurer and a secretary taking notes, and they put forward a portfolio to say, right, can we do this? Can we do that? And it's the people that's voting for it. It's not some faceless people behind a fucking desk that's been there for years ripping off the people. It's the actual people in that meeting and in that community that's voting for it in the right place. And this is where this is only the start of it, mate, to bring this country back.
But when we get there to do it, Spanner, what we're finding still is we don't have enough people to do it. We've only got enough people to get locked up.
Oh.
So that's why we're trying to go forward with the education. But when we get people going off in different directions, doing all this other crap that can't bring you a solution at all.
No, that's exactly right. And this is where people have got to back each other up. Now, I'm only from a little state, and there's hardly any backup here whatsoever when it comes to a court case.
Yeah.
And in the court case here, when you get called up, mate, if you know any knowledge, they'll wait until you're the very last person in that court, and you're there by yourself.
That's right.
And then they throw the shit at you. They talk to you like that you're not even there.
Yep.
And this is where they've got the control over everything. Mate, I've been in a courtroom where everyone's gone through it. I've sat there for 4 hours, and then they went to dinner, and then I came back, and there was 3 other people before me, and and here I am under H, and the third one down from the list, and they've waited until everyone got out of that courtroom, and then they fucking came in, and 3 officers came in the side door to intimidate.
Yep.
You know, and this is how far it's got. It's time to make a difference. It's time to put the vice back on them, not us.
Exactly.
And the thing is this sovereign citizen shit, that's a lot of crap.
Yeah.
And that's only an excuse for them to be able to act. and it doesn't even, and it's not lawful to even use it. It's only a, how could you say, a propaganda thing through their corporate entity.
Oh yeah, in the media, and it's been going on for ages, and they've
Exactly
been
right.
building.
And this is where the fear comes into it. Look, mate, I don't care whether I take a bullet or not. And that's the way it is. I don't care because I'm trying to do the right thing by everybody in this country, because I've already had my ass kicked that many times. It's not funny.
Yeah.
And the thing is if people don't wake up and realize the magnitude of what we're in, then you might as well just go and stand out in the street and say, hi, I'm here, mate. Go and lock me up. And this is where the education, doesn't matter what group it is, the education and the purpose of doing this education and finding out the facts and the truth is going, it's amazing how people just don't get up and say, right, stop it. It's enough is enough. They've been murdering our fucking kids, mate.
Yep.
They've been murdering our people, Australian people, like they dig our fucking diggers over a political argument with someone else. And that's what it all comes down to. These wars are just being made up for money.
Of course. So what I suggest, which people heard me say it often enough, is that we get our educational material, we do it online as much as we can. We try and get other people to see what it is to Constitution. There's no point trying to work out how to get on with the oppressor, because that's not an answer at all. It's not no part as an answer, and they don't have a fallback position for what they've done. So for them,
mate, there's so many people out there that have done so much, like Dick and Harry and you and Lee and you know, and Jackie and everyone. This is where they're all got to come together. Chris, look what he's doing. He's fucking amazing. Mona, she's done so much, you know, to help people.
yes.
And this is where this shit's got to stop. And we've got to fucking get this, hit the nail right on the head. We've got to find that solution.
The Constitution is our moral answer.
Ethical.
Yeah, ethical and lawful. And that's it. And as long as I'm complying with that Constitution, I'm not hurting anybody. The common law of England contract. And that's where the people need to be working with.
That's exactly right.
And then we start taking out our councils and the local courts from where you are, because they're all unlawful, all unconstitutional. And we're doing it through an education, from an education point of view. To anybody who's listening that's got an axe to throw at anybody who wants to see a regime change, right? We're talking about being lawful and not feeding off children, all the other crap.
And that's exactly right, Steve. And this is where people have got to realise, and these, you know, you might turn to talk to people, one or two people a day and that, but you've got to set that seed in their fucking head to say, do some research, find it, because it's right there in front of you if you open your eyes and do some research.
Yeah.
And mate, like, you can't get it, like, you know, I'm a nobody.
Yeah. So we're all sort of together we're strong. And I think we know that we're really just trying to get people to make sure we're getting fine-tuned into the same position to move ahead, to go together, even if some people are doing slightly different things, as long as the outcome that we're seeking is the same.
But all of them
ultimately the
small things,
Constitution is
Steve,
the answer.
all of them small things, right, on each group coming together, make one great big answer and solution.
Yeah.
Because all the facts and figures and proof is right there in front of them.
Yeah. It is. Thank you, Spanner. And you've been around for a while. I was looking at a video the other day, accidentally, that was over 2 years old, and you were in it.
Me, yeah, I'm getting old in the tooth, mate. But yeah, I'm just too many, as I said, too many people and kids are getting hurt, and this is what we're here for. And I don't care what what the establishment think or what they do or anything. They don't scare me.
No,
I've
I'm
had a
not.
pistol to my head and I turned around and said, pull the trigger, and he ran.
Hmm.
You know, this is the shit that they try to put on people.
Yeah.
It's time people stood up and said, no, enough is enough.
Well, I think that we are. We've just got to try and get some others with us, mate.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So thanks very much. We've got Boris here. We're moving on. It's 20 to 11. And Dick's still got 2 hours of presentation to do. So he's probably gone to sleep. Go ahead, Boris.
I don't want to be the last act, Steve.
Oh, sorry, Boris?
I don't want to be the last one to speak again.
Well, that's normally your role. And how are you, Boris?
First, my first question is the person that did that you paid to do your PMA paperwork. Would you care to name it?
Oh, I didn't pay them. I haven't got $5,000.
Right. So they
Yeah, I will name them because I'm really disappointed because I think he's very smart, but he's turning out to not be who I thought he was, because it's not the only person that he owes money to or is taken advantage of, and it's Jason Strong.
Okay.
So Jason Strong is heavily involved in the Crown Group. He speaks very well, but he hasn't come up with the goods. He doesn't appear that he will be. He's told the people that they've got he doesn't have to give the money back because they've got a contract, but they don't have a contract. But I'm saying, well, if they have got a contract, where's the proof that he's fulfilled his part of the contract? Because they don't have a PMA.
Is that the same Jason Strong that is he an Indigenous person?
No.
Oh, okay. A different Jason, I'm thinking.
I only know of one Jason Strong. So he'll go by the name a lot of J Private.
Oh, I think I remember that from the group. Anyway, the second comment I was going to make, you talk about the new communication system that's private and all that. Yep. The identification way that you could consider to find out who it is and whether they're genuine is use the similar or same system as PayPal, which is when you become a member, they ask you for a payment of $1, which is refundable through a credit card. Now, the credit card ID system is foolproof. You are either that or you're not.
Okay.
You're either the person on the card or not. Yep. And then you simply, once you confirm, once you have the payment, you simply refund the $1.
Yeah, so you're just talking about using somebody else's
card.
Security thing that they've set up. Yep.
Yes, they'd have to be in possession of that card, which is.
Well, that'll cover a lot of people.
Yeah, you can't have a credit card in a false name.
No, I think that sounds like it sounds like a real good place to start, Boris.
Yeah, yes, and
I think I've already started, but I mean, I think that's a good. Well, the angle you've come at it from, I think, is very sound.
Yes, well, it's because let the credit card companies worry about the identification and confirmation of stuff.
Yeah,
they're simply using the system. If they're in the system, they are fair income. If they're not, well, they don't exist. That's so that's as much as I can contribute tonight.
Thank you very much. And just generally speaking, how are you doing? You well?
Yeah. Thank you for asking, Steve. I'm doing well. And you? Have you sold the house yet?
No, not yet. Not yet. Things are a little bit quiet, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's all sitting there ready. And you need to get out of the city at some point, mate.
You reckon?
And I'll tell you what, we can put in a stair climber just for you.
Thank you, Steve. I don't need that yet.
No, fair enough. Okay. It's good.
All
Always
right.
good to hear from you, Boris. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Now we're moving on. It's 10:46. I think we should look at ending the meeting. If anybody's got anything else they'd like to say, please do so. If Spiros was here, I'd thank him for coming along, and I also thank him for the way that he received the information when I told him the things that I'd been thinking, what was going on, and I've told him on phone call as well, and he's still there answering the phone. So I just give kudos where it's deserved, and we still look at where we're going. So he's going through the court system, and so is Jackie going through the court system, and JKV is going through the court system. Ultimately, I don't think that's how we win, but we do need to keep gathering evidence and demonstrating what they're not, because they're totally criminal, those courts. But you need the evidence, and you need to be able to tell the fight story to other people at times as well. So ultimately, I think it's up to us to have the numbers and the knowledge and to pressure these people out of their positions just with our communities, really, and by standing with the Constitution and demanding that that's the lawful way we go. And remember that all these people that are in positions of authority that have taken an oath, they've taken the wrong oath, and they cannot take a correct oath and maintain a position. That's not a possibility. So we've got Colette here. Are you still there, Dick?
Yep.
Okie dokie. I'll just unmute Colette, and we'll finish off with this little round of conversation. So how are you, Colette?
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I just come from work, and I was at work yesterday too. So, yeah, Dick saw the thing with the council. Well, I bumped into one of the councillors the other day, one of the council guys. So I called out to him, "Hi, how's it going?" And he walked over us, and I said, "Oh, it was pretty daunting for me the other day, first time in the council chambers." He said, "Oh, yeah, that's okay. It is pretty daunting." And I said, but I spoke with Dick, and I couldn't really hear you, CEO, and I had to actually go to the video to listen to what he was answering me. And I said, "So now he's admitted that they've taken that out. Now it means he's took the head off the crown, like he's took the crown." So he's admitted it, and he just looked at me and went and walked away.
Yep.
So I think he thought he was going to be calming me and going, "Oh no, it's okay, you did well, blah 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 blah." And
Yeah,
then
you
I
did
just
well,
said,
but
yeah. But then I sort of said, "Well, he admitted that, listening to him on the tape. If they've took that out, the treason in the Constitution is to protect the crown." So if they took it out, he just admitted to doing it. Anyway, so I thought Dick would like to hear that. We were in court again today, just with another one of our community people. It's something we tend to do. We just sit in the court and have a listen in. And she's going a different way, because she's going with a lady called Heidi Ward, who does the CSQ or SESTQV trust stuff. So we don't really do that stuff, but we still sit there and support, and we heckle and jekyll the judge from the pews at the back. And so she did her a little bit, saying who she was under the as a beneficiary and stuff like that. And the magistrate's going, "Oh, look, I don't care you're standing like this." She was more or less saying you don't care how she stands. And so my friend's got a really wicked, witchetty laugh, and she laughed as loud as she could. That got me laughing. So we were sort of all giggling. So here's the magistrate looking quite flustered, because all we're doing is laughing at her comments. And yeah, we were told outside to be quiet too by the security. "Can you please be quiet?" We're going, "No, this is our court." And so this guy's he's about 5 times the size of me width-wise. And he's standing there saying, "Well, they can hear you inside." And we're going, "Well, we don't care. We're outside." And no, we're not being quiet. Yeah, so we just give him heaps. And so there's another guy there today from the community that got pulled over by the cops. He wouldn't show his license, so they sort of took him away. They took him away from, Dick would know, from a little town near Mission Beach. So he was only down the road from the cop shop, but they took him 45 k's to Innisfail to the cop shop so that they could do the paperwork, and then just told him you can find your own way home. 45 k's away, you know.
They really push the point that they're just straight out pigs.
Of course they do. Yeah, of course they do. And it was my friend too. It was my friend, Mr. Smith, who every time I see him, he emails to me, hello, but I mouth to him, F off. Every time I see him, I just turn around and go, fuck off. And he doesn't come back with anything. He just turns away in disgrace. But anyway, never mind. That's just how we do it up here. Yeah, so yeah, we're all trying to support each other, you know, just sitting in the court and just heckling them from the background.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay,
that was my day in court today.
Still standing.
Your CEO just admitted to total treason.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, they can't take that out.
Sort of,
no,
he
well, they've got no authority.
I couldn't believe it when I worked out what he was saying. I think, I know that act.
Yeah, you have to turn it up.
We've done research on that.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't hear him when I was there.
On that years ago.
Yeah,
no,
I couldn't hear him.
No.
And my friend listened to it too, and she said I had to turn the volume right up to hear him. How did you hear him? I said I couldn't. You know, and yeah, so he'd already been told by his masters what to say, but yeah, that's what he did do, and that's what I said to this Jim, what's his name, Jim Bairns. He's one of our division men there, whose father died in Vietnam. And yeah, so when I saw him in the street, I called him over, but I think he wished he hadn't come over. Because I said, well, now he's admitted to that. Woo, took the head off the crown here. Like, really? Yeah, anyway.
Yep.
I thought you'd, be interested in that.
Okay, thank you very much, Colette.
All right, that's my little bit for the night.
Thank you. Now, we will be closing the meeting up very shortly. And I just want to we'll let you know that we'll be having next Wednesday and Thursday off, which might be good for a break. But for people know how to contact me, I'm still breathing. I still answer the phone. And there's always the email. Hopefully through this next break, I'll get a chance to fix the website up more. I've been doing a lot of work on trying to get things going the right way. And I'd just like to acknowledge you, Dick, for hanging in with us for all the time that you have.
Oh, hell.
And I think
if we don't work together, we don't get there.
No, we don't. But I think that through your work and through your participation, you've been able to get a lot of really good people to get to know each other and to be able to have the opportunity to connect. Ultimately, it's up to each individual to form the community. It's not up to one, but the information that you provide us is invaluable. And also your persistence in bringing the message through and making sure people sort of understand what's what. So I just want to really acknowledge you for that and acknowledge all the people that have been coming to these meetings. There's some people for like almost all the time, and I'm not sure how long it's been now, but I think it's coming up to I think it's over 2.5 years or around 2.5 years. It's which is in a way is a shame, but we're still here. We're not going away. We're not giving up, and we still stand up, but we're standing together. That's how we need to be. And I still believe that ultimately we don't win it in Canberra. We win it at home where we live. That's where we are, because that's where they're attacking us. And that's where we can get our communities together. And when what Chris is talking about, having one button where you can press and get everyone there with this communication system that we're bringing through. When I say we, I didn't create it or anything. I'm a ringing. That's like a joke for a phone. Anyway, I'm a ringing on it. But what it means is that you'll have your own groups and you'll be able to send out a message to a group. And there'll also be an opportunity to send out a message to all groups. And it won't be going through any form of social media that can be tracked. It won't be able to be tracked like a telephone. None of it. It's got high level encryption, and the communication device you use, if someone takes it off you, it just goes dark and there's no record of anything that you've been doing. Now we can also, on that whole communication network, we can have websites and we can have people being able to do business with each other, and it is a private system, but it's only as private as we can make it with the onboarding, with identification of people and that sort of thing. So nothing is bulletproof because there's always somebody that decides they can gain an advantage from doing something that goes against the community. That's always on the cards. But we won't be able to be eavesdropped on all the time. And you can have your own private groups where you can communicate with each other securely, and your communication is as secure as your group is. So the groups get to decide whether they're visible to other groups or not. So you might have a group of 4 people and that's all you want to do. Or you might want to link up 4, 5, 10, 20, 50 communities. That's also up to you. You might exist in a number of different instances where you exist, where you're party to different groups that have slightly different rules of association with each other. Again, that's up to you. So what we're going to try and do is make sure that the people that enter into the system, that it's verified who they are. So I just want to thank Boris for his suggestion. It's one of those things that's probably staring you right in the face. The banks don't like losing money, so they like to know where you are. So if we use their identification, the fact that they've already verified who people are, we've probably gone a long way to doing it, and without having to get into biometrics and stuff like that, because we all value our privacy. And the one thing you've got to remember is, which we know, looking at it, is if somebody's got a database of everybody's information, there's just one place that's got to be robbed, stolen, whatever. And we don't want that either. So it's an awkward thing to work through, but I believe the people that are working on it have very much got the right intentions, and they have the skill set that's required, and they've got the corporate knowledge that is needed to know how systems work. So thanks to everybody for participating. We have a couple of weeks off, but we'll see you in the new year. But if people really want to have a Zoom meeting and you put messages through, we can do that. We can provide a platform. It's not a problem. But I think I'll just hear from Dick with his Christmas message, because he's obviously a very Christmassy sort of a bloke. You got a message for us, Dick?
Yeah, have a good Christmas and New Year, and we'll see you after.
Thank you very much. He's hard to shut him up sometimes, it really is. Anyway, you can all unmute yourselves and talk over the top of each other if you wish. Thanks for being here. We'll try and make it bigger and better as much as the budget will allow. Unless I buy a packet of chips, that'll exhaust the budget.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Dick. This group's amazing. God bless everyone.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Have a great Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Everybody. God bless.
I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry
Thanks,
Christmas.
everybody.
God bless
Just one thing, do
everybody.
you think we should have one
Bless
meeting
you
where
all.
everybody drinks alcohol?
Get on to Jackie.
No, we shouldn't.
Contact to Jackie.
Thanks for
Thank
speaking
you,
with us.
everybody.
See you
Thank
guys.
you, everyone.
Thank
Take
you
care.
for speaking with us.
Download the chat. Download the chat. Okay, good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you. Be safe.
Merry Christmas, Chris.
Merry Christmas.